Bold Republic.
I don't think I have to interpret those statements for you. They kind of speak for themselves.
The point I was making was not that my grandmother harbors any racial animosity. She doesn't, but she is a typical white person.
When ignorant folks want to advertise their ignorance, you don't really have to do anything. You just let them talk.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
The United States continues to wrestle with the legacy of race. And
I forgot he was black tonight for an hour.
I don't think I have to interpret those statements for you. They kind of speak for themselves.
Senator Reid was wowed by Obama's oratorical gifts and believed that the country was ready to embrace a black presidential candidate, especially one such as Obama, a, quote, light-skinned African-American, quote, with no Negro dialect unless he wanted to have one.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Well, the nation is holding its breath. The decision has been reached by the grand jury, but what is it? Well, let's hold on. Let's find out. My name's Glenn Woods. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so here's the routine. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. And, of course, pretty much everything I'm talking about and a whole lot more you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. Of course, I'm talking about the decision in Ferguson. The grand jury has reached a decision. Now, the last I saw, and I'm keeping a close eye on this while I'm on the air, the Ferguson decision has been reached by the grand jury, and the grand jury is, you better believe, carefully crafting their message, and then they'll step out and make an announcement to the general public. So what the decision is as of yet, we don't know. I don't know, you don't know, we don't know. We'll just have to hang on. That's why during the course of this show, I'll just keep checking up to see. But here's the other thing that, well, here's what worries me about coming out with this decision today and then announcing it later in the afternoon. Announcing it later in the afternoon is going to mean it's getting dark when they tell the people of Ferguson what the decision is. That means it's perfect time. Oh, these are night people. If the decision did not go the way of the rioters, I'm sorry, that's insensitive. I can't call them rioters. The undocumented shoppers of Ferguson, if the decision does not go the way of the undocumented shoppers, then you know what the city is going to look like during the course of the evening. You know what's going to happen. There are people who've already made up their mind, and there's no amount of evidence you can show them that's going to convince them otherwise, so the undocumented shoppers will commence shopping. They do so. There's no glass to kick open anymore, so they'll just go ahead and have to rip down the walls that were put up, the plywood that would put up in front of the window. Well, the windows that have been broken were replaced by plywood, so we'll just have to replace that because it's going to be ripped down in the middle of the night. I would wait. You know what I would do? I would announce to the people of Ferguson first thing tomorrow morning. I mean, I would come out with this decision. Let everybody get tired and go to bed. Don't let anyone know what the decision is. Then announce it at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So these people have to roll out of bed and get to the streets and start lighting their Molotov cocktails then, assuming that this is what's going to happen. Now, like you, don't misunderstand. Don't get me wrong. Like you, I'm hoping cooler heads prevail on both sides because as far as I'm concerned, the police did make some big mistakes. When this whole thing first started to blow up, police made their mistakes right up front, as did the rioters. You know, so, well, I'm sorry, undocumented shoppers. Both sides have some blame to spread here. Both sides are guilty of overreacting to this. I'm not saying a tragedy didn't happen, but the response from both sides way over the top. This is not, and you hear people talk about bringing the community together. This is not how it's done. So, okay, let's hear where we are right now with it. This is just the latest out of Ferguson. St. Louis grand jury reached a decision on whether to indict Darren Wilson, the white Ferguson, Missouri police officer who, of course, as you know, after the fatal shooting of an unarmed black teenager sparked days of turbulent protests. The Missouri governor, Jay Nixon, and the county prosecuting officers are expected to hold a news conference later today, this is Monday that I'm talking to you. And prosecutors have notified the family of Michael Brown, the teen who Wilson killed, that the grand jury's decision will be announced Monday night. Like I said, I wouldn't do it Monday night. I would do it Tuesday early in the morning, because these people are gearing up for a nighttime of violence. Timing is important on this. Okay, so there are sources that gave no indication as to whether the police officer will face state charges in the shooting. They're not saying anything at this point. And this is where I say I guarantee you they are carefully crafting the wording of this decision, whatever it is. And exactly whatever the conclusion is. They have, I would bet, not just lawyers taking a look at what the wording is going to be, but what do you want to bet there are experts in the media, media consultants taking a look at what the wording would be. The grand jury's decision, latest turn, of course, in the case, and then the story goes on to what happened in Ferguson. We already know that. So, okay, I'm with you on this one. I'm sitting back, I'm holding my breath, and I'm just waiting to see what happens in Ferguson tonight based on the grand jury's decision. Now, here's the part that disturbs me about people like Reverend Al Sharpton and people like Jesse Jackson and some of the other people. There are people who showed up in Ferguson who don't live there, but when an event like this happens, they show up on the scene. And they're not interested in peace or justice or bringing the community together. They're interested in causing mayhem. It's a lot like if we go back to remember the Occupy Wall Street protesters. Well, that thing fell apart kind of fast, didn't it? Well, the Occupy Wall Street protesters had a hard time pushing out people who are the anarchist movement who just showed up to cause trouble. And I really do feel for the business owners. I watched an interview last night as a reporter just went from one business to the next, one boarded up business to the next, and talked to the business owners. And these are the people who really do care about their community. They have to. The community is their customers. And when they see the businesses their own businesses being ripped apart, well, what do you think makes a town? You have to have retail stores and other such businesses in order to make a town work, or what do you have? Well, these people are, I would think, more scared than anybody else. By the way, you probably heard by now, gun sales have gone through the roof in Ferguson. There was one unfortunate young lady who bought a gun she said to protect herself. Well, we won't know for sure because she's dead now. She ended up shooting herself in the head with a gun that she bought. This is why I always say to you folks, if you're going to go out and purchase guns for protection, which I advise that you do, the first thing you do is you go take a course in how to use the thing and what to do and what not to do. Oh, for the love of Pete, you buy yourself a weapon to defend yourself just in case. And now on that note, look, the majority of the people, from what I understand, from the stories I was reading that were buying guns in Ferguson, are not people who intend to be there on the street. There are people who have homes, who have businesses in Ferguson, who intend to stay out of it, and so they just bought themselves something just in case because of the looting and the violence that goes on. They want to protect them. People who, after the Rodney King riots, I'm sorry, during the Rodney King riots, had barricaded their stores, put up sandbags around their stores, and defended themselves against the onslaught which, by the way, is their right. And in that case, the rioters quickly found out that you don't head toward those stores. You'll be met with, well, they're not going to restrain themselves like the police might. All right, so we'll see tonight, and we'll see how much of a militarization the police bring out as well. I'm sorry, I don't trust either. I mean, am I alone on this? Because I don't really trust either side on this at this point. I do take a look at what the police have been up against, and I understand it. But I do think there was an overreaction by the police in the beginning, and they've calmed it down some since then. But remember, I don't know if you've heard this, there were some reporters that went into a McDonald's to stay out of the fray, if you will, and police officers went in there after them. If you want to see some interesting video of where the police overstepped the line, get on YouTube and just kind of search for some videos of Ferguson. So I really don't trust either side in this. And, yeah, I'm kind of nervous about it. All right, so there's where we stand right now, waiting for the decision to come down as I'm on the air live with today's show. And at some point, they're going to announce it. I just disagree with doing this in the evening. Do this at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So all of these people have fallen asleep for just a few hours, and they have to roll out of bed. Now, during the course of the show, if I hear anything new, I'll just stop what I'm talking about and get you guys up to speed. All right. During the course of the winter out here in Wyoming, where I am right now, you know, it's kind of snowing on and off today. This morning, I just went to the gym this morning. And, man, the ice on those roads, dear Lord, the ice on those roads. All right, so here I am trying to get down the road in a vehicle that does just fine in winter weather, but if you need something that can really handle it, whether you're talking from snowmobile to four-wheel ATV, or if you're looking for a bigger vehicle, or there's something that you want to sell, or maybe you want to buy an RV and get out of all this weather, Anybody's Auto is where you go. You'll find the magazine in stores. You'll find the magazine in retail stores, but also convenience stores and in restaurants as well. So you can put something in it, or you can buy something from it. That's Anybody's Auto magazine.
Okay, Glenn, this Jack's Liquor and Bar commercial is going to be very short.
Short, so it's going to be like 20 seconds.
Well, yes, but I mean, it's running for a short time.
Short, yeah, like what, 15 seconds?
No, it's going to be longer than that.
Okay.
It's only running for a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks. Commercials are usually like 30 seconds. You can't run a 2-week commercial. That'll bore everybody.
No, Glenn. 12 packs of Bush and Bush Light are on sale for $10.14 plus tax, or a case for $19.57 plus tax, and a fifth of Bacardi rum for $13.63 plus tax. And they're open at 6 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day. Short like that.
Your face is short.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline McKinney, owner of Fast and Furious Detailing. Do you need your RV or toy hauler cleaned before summer? We will get it ready for you, so all you have to do is go have some fun. Or how about after summer fun, we can clean it up. We will even wash all of your bedding for you. Does your boat have dark film all around the outside of it? No problem. Fast and Furious Detailing is a full-service detailing company. We detail cars, SUVs, trucks, RVs, toy haulers, boats, ATVs, UTVs, and motorcycles. Fast and Furious Detailing hopes you can find everything you need. Our company is focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. With a variety of offerings to choose from, we're sure you'll be happy working with us. We're located at 5753 South Winland Drive, and our phone number is 307-682-2470.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is 30 Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance. Upgrade your roof. Upgrade your plumbing. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 686-5002. That's 686-5002.
To my darling wife and kids, I'm writing to you what might be the last thing I ever say. trapped in the bathroom, you see, and the toilet is clogged. If I open the door right now, it might be the end for us all. I think it might go all the way down the sewer line. Maybe the clog even goes to the septic. Well, I'm not sure if it needs to be cleared or pumped. Please call Roto-Rooter right now. They're the only qualified service in Northeast Wyoming. Just go find the card for Roto-Rooter under the magnet on the refrigerator. The guy's name is Brian. The phone number is 307-686-1573. If you don't get this note in time, I love you.
Obamacare by morning. Why is this taking so long? So long. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna wind up with hemorrhoids if I sit here till dawn. We'll have cataracts and dementia. Oh, this is getting on my last nerve. Obamacare by morning. Over 6 people served.
Hello. Yes, I think Glenn is going to take your call next, but don't call him Glenn. He wants to be called Pasty White Guy. Oh, no, he takes it as a compliment. Trust me. Wait, here we go.
Back to the show. Back to Glenn Woods.
So there's a bit of a problem I've had. If you haven't been paying attention to what I've been saying, let me get you up to speed, because you should be paying attention to this. There are people out there who are trying to turn the United States of America into France. A bunch of wimpy, cheese-eating surrender monkeys, I think is what I heard the term one time. Well, it fits, doesn't it? We're supposed to be afraid of every little thing. We're supposed to apologize for every little thing. We're supposed to surrender to every little thing. Get a load of this. From a website that I track, college kids have put up this website. It's called Campus Reform. And I got to get, if you worry about the next generation, Campus Reform, it's young people who have decided to take back their campuses from the nutballs that are currently running their campuses. Case in point. Oh, besides, these people are the people who challenge the free speech zones, by the way. But case in point. Here's the headline. Student was mugged. Says he deserved it because of white privilege. Just letting that sink in. You want to hear that again? I'll do that again for you. Because I know you heard me say that, and then you went, what? Okay, we're going to do this again. Read it nice and slow so you can make sure that you heard this properly. Student was mugged. He says he deserved it because of white privilege. Now, before I get into the story, this is what they're teaching your kids in certain colleges around the United States. Not how to turn and defend yourself, but how to feel guilty because you're the one, you're the one getting mugged, and rather than being angry at the person who is stealing from you, you feel guilty. And you think you deserve it. That would be like the little four-eyed dork in high school that everybody beat up, feeling guilty and thinking, you know, I deserve to be beat up. I'd rather teach that kid how to fight back. Oliver Fairfield blames his misfortune on his privilege and the inequality gap. Ah, I see. Now, where does he learn terms like that? What would that be? Oh, yeah, his hippie freak teachers. The student suggests that until we right the wrongs of the past, society should get used to the, well, sporadic muggings and break-ins. Oh, break-ins. Oh, okay. Would that include home invasions? Because, you see, I really am impressed with those stories where grandma, the widow grandma, is living at home alone, and some punk thug kids decide they're going to kick her door open and take her stuff because, you know, white privilege or whatever, and grandma pulls her revolver. And it doesn't end well for the thugs. Those stories I like. That's decent, honest, hardworking people just defending what's their own. All right, let's get back to this nonsense. Where's the school? Georgetown University. Student who says he was mugged at gunpoint says he can hardly blame his assailant. No, I'm really reading this to you. You are actually hearing this on the radio. It is not an Onion news piece. There are times I've read an Onion news piece to you guys just to see if you were paying attention. It was a fake story. This is not fake. Senior Oliver I'm dyslexic here. Fredfield. There you go. And his roommate were held at gunpoint recently. However, the GU student isn't upset. In fact, he can hardly blame his muggers. Quote, "Not once did I consider our attackers bad people. I trust that they weren't trying to hurt me. In fact, if they knew me, they'd think that I was okay," he said in an editorial that he wrote for the newspaper. The fact that these two kids, who appear to be younger than I, have even had to entertain these questions suggests that their universes are light years away from mine. This is what they're teaching students at certain universities around America. Now, he claims it is the pronounced inequality gap in Washington, D.C. that has fueled these types of crimes. He also says that as a middle-class man, his editor should have caught that. No, well, I'm serious. As he wrote this story, it said as a middle-class man, I have to stop. Do you catch the word that's out of place? You got it, man. He might be middle class, but this is no man. His editor should have caught it and corrected it. All right, well, I did it for you. He does not have the right to judge his muggers. Well, you know something? I would sure as hell judge them. I never did buy into that. You shouldn't judge other people. Well, that would depend. If a guy sticks a gun in my ribs and threatens to take what he did not earn from me, but money that I earned by my own hard work, I'm judging him. Who am I to stand from my perching privilege, surrounded by million-dollar homes, paying for a $60,000 education, to condemn these young men as thugs? It is precisely this kind of authoritarianism that fuels the problems. Police aren't the solution, he argues. Oh, police aren't the solution, he argues. So, what would be the solution? I guess just empty your wallet and let them have it. Not judge the guy. For any muggers that are out there, just say, if there's anybody listening to one of the affiliate stations here, and you are, I know he doesn't want to call you one, but you're a thug and you know it. Come on, let's just admit what your profession is. This is Georgetown University. So apparently, according to this guy at Georgetown University, it's okay to mug him. He doesn't mind. In fact, while you're mugging him, he'll apologize to you. Quote, "If we ever want opportunistic crime to end, we should look to ourselves first. Simply amplifying police presence will not solve the issue. Police protects us by keeping those bad people out of our neighborhoods, and I'm grateful for it. And yet, I realize it's self-serving and actually doesn't fit anything." He suggests that privilege adapt to the word privilege. This is what he wants you to do. Take the word privilege and adapt it to normalize crime. That's his words. And help fix the wrongs of the past. And according to Nick, apparently he has not been privileged in education. No, he's not. This is what they're teaching your kids. Now, this is why I say, look, frankly, they're trying to teach the young people of America how to be French. When your country is attacked, the first thing you do is what, according to a liberal? Apologize.
big just happened in one of America's most infamous political battlegrounds. Something that stops big money from corrupting politics and puts power back into the hands of the people.
Citizens need to take back their government, and we've done that here in Tallahassee.
The story of how they won should matter to every American, because today we have a government that only listens to a tiny fraction of our population. It means that we get stuck with laws that are bad for us and good for them. It affects every issue at every level of government. It's rampant, it's systemic, and worst of all, it's legal.
We cannot ignore this corruption anymore, because there is no sensible reform possible until we end this corruption.
It all started when a community in Florida decided to show America what is possible. They set out not only to protect their own government from big money's influence, but to create a model for communities across America to do the same.
Corruption is an issue that the left and the right can come to an agreement on and work to effect change.
Conservatives and progressives put aside their differences and got to work. The chair of the Florida Tea Party Network, the former president of the Florida League of Women Voters, the chairman of Florida Common Cause, and a former county commissioner banded together to create Citizens for Ethics Reform.
We use the American Anti-Corruption Act as a model for what we did here in Tallahassee, and I'm sure any other city or state could do the same.
The American Anti-Corruption Act includes tough new lobbying and ethics rules to stop political bribery, because bribery should be, illegal. Transparency laws to put an end to secret money so we know who's really backing our politicians, and a tax rebate for voters who make small political donations so we can elect politicians who haven't sold out to special interests.
This is what I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for you, but you have to fight too.
Polling all over the country shows that anti-corruption laws are incredibly popular. When they show up on the ballot, they win.
You would just walk up to people and say, we want an independent ethics officer in Tallahassee. People were like, where do we sign?
We needed a little over 9,000 signatures. We were able to get over 20,000.
It's not so much convincing people to sign off on the petition. It was to convincing people that it was possible to do it.
67% of Tallahassee voters said yes to an ethics and anti-corruption code for city commissioners yesterday.
Tonight proved two things. One, that this issue of fighting corruption and making our government represent the people, it's not a liberal issue, it's not a conservative issue, it's an American issue, and we proved it in Tallahassee tonight. And this is the beginning, because after tonight, we are taking this victory and we are going out to other cities across the country until it reaches Washington and we pass it nationally. And it started here tonight.
We came together to show America that we can take our country back from special interests. That if you're willing to fight for it, the promise of a government of, by, and for the people is not only possible, it's happening right now. That's why we need your help. Pass this video on to your friends, your colleagues, your family. If we put aside our differences and work together, we can pass anti-corruption laws from coast to coast and give America back to its rightful owners, the people.
Do yourself a favor. Don't just listen to the show. See what Glenn's talking about at boldrepublic.com. There you can watch the show live on YouTube or download the show and listen to it later. Now let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So we're going to do something a little bit different. today. I'm going to take you over to a different kind of freedom fighter and outside of the United States of America. In fact, we're going to go to Papua New Guinea, and we're going to go to West Papua as well. These are forces fighting for their freedom, and we're going to get into from whom and for why. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up to you is because in Wyoming, visiting for a time while working on getting support for his cause is a general from West Papua. General John Anari is on the phone with me right now. Sir, are you there with me?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you very much for coming on to the program. Where are you today in Wyoming? Are you in Casper?
No, in Lusk.
You're in Lusk, Wyoming. Okay, what brings you from an island nation all the way to Wyoming? What's the purpose of coming here to fight for a cause?
Yes, I'm coming here because United Nations infestation for General Assembly session, and then after speaking in United Nations, and then go to our office that established in May 2011 and 4 in United Nations building, Plaza building.
So you're in you have an office in the United Nations building where you're trying to get some support. Yes. I understand you'll be talking to our own Wyoming Senator Enzi and a few other people in the area as well.
Mm-hmm. And then I was invited by my friend Tom in the city, and then want to see the Wyoming, and then I like the city, the building, the roads. I like, and I think maybe this is important for me to working together for future, for my station in my state.
Well, for those people who don't know, West Papua really doesn't. Although you do have, of course, some buildings and some roads, but most of it doesn't look anything like what we have here in America, does it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now. Well, I just want to ask you, since it doesn't look anything like in America, let's just real quick here get into some of the history of this. Yeah. What exactly are you fighting against? What is going on inside your country that you've had to start fighting essentially a rebellion?
Yes, I'm coming also because I want to tell the international community also, and then accept like in United States people, and because my island occupied by Indonesia since 1961, throughout the and then throughout John F. Kennedy support Indonesian to occupy my island from that. So I come into the state to tell the people about last story, and then because today, and then multinational corporation over there also, like Freeport McMoran, and then they exploit my mineral resource. There's the biggest gold, copper, and silver in the world in my island, and then like British Petroleum also, and then American government also, and then they support the Indonesian military weapons, and then they kill my people, and from 1963 until today.
About how many people have died from about 1963 to today? I mean, and I know quite a few of them have just disappeared. About how many people do you think have died?
According to the data of Doug Hardware book, they said more than 500,000 people killed.
Wow. About 500,000 people.
500,000 people killed by Indonesia.
Okay.
And then, because we have the data also about the comparison between indigenous people before in 1961 is 1 million, but today it's still 1 million. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so between the nation of Indonesia and against some big corporate interests that appear to be in your country as well, that has caused about 500,000 people over all these years to either be killed or just disappear. So as a general, what exactly are you doing on your nation? What's the fight like? Where is it right now?
Yes, today we are still fighting with Indonesian military and their police. We don't kill a civilian. We just kill because they also kill us. And but today we want to speak in peace and democracy. So now I hope people in state also will support me and to struggle in peace and democracy. Because I think United States must be responsible because they have sell the weapons for Indonesia. And Indonesia may kill my people. So I think United States must be responsible. And then.
So United States has been selling weapons to the Indonesian government?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Until 2010, they are give a military embargo to Indonesia. Yeah?
Right. So where are you getting money to buy weapons to fight back?
What?
Where are you getting the means, the money to buy weapons to fight back?
Yeah, Papua New Guinea is they sell weapon over there also.
Okay.
And then we can buy. And then today Indonesian also United States also want to send a SL Apache helicopter to Indonesia. I read yesterday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe United States want to kill my people also, support the genocide. Yeah.
Do you think, can you see a conclusion anytime soon? Do you think that this might come to an end anytime soon, or is this fight going to go on for who knows how many years?
What?
Do you see the fight ending soon, or do you think the fight will go on for many more years?
Yes, I think there's fight going on.
Okay.
But I think United Nations want to involve. I hope so, because United Nations involvement also in the battle of decolonization in my country.
Okay. This is General John Anari that's on the phone with me right now. General, I'd like to thank you for coming on, and let's keep in touch because you're going to be in Wyoming for a few months, I understand.
Yes.
Okay. Well, as the story develops, I'll be in contact with you so we can see if you make any headway while you're in the United States.
Yeah, I'm coming here. I want to tell the people about the situation in my island. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
about
you very much.
Genocide.
Yes.
And then marginalization, and then some Papuan won't fight for our right to self-determination, but Indonesian are kidnapped and then they kill, and then they kill and not use a gun. Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes they use gun to kill, and then sometimes they use knife only. Yeah.
Right.
And they kidnap and then kill, and then today every day. So many Papuan killed without the reason.
Right.
But before, never like that. In every place today they kill.
Okay.
Like
when do you meet with Senator Enzi?
Yes, and then I have called with my friend Tom to call Senator Enzi. Also, so I hope through him, and then he can tell to the U.S. Congress. Yeah, to stop genocide in Papua.
Okay. General, thank you very much for coming on.
Okay, thank you.
This is Bruce at Marshall Jewelry, and it's time to tell you about some of our Black Friday specials. We have a huge selection of cultured pearl strands for just $19.99. We also have some gents stainless steel bracelets for $9.95. Plus, we'll give you a free pair of pearl studs or a bracelet with any purchase. Spend $3,999 and get a free Ruger rifle or 50-inch TV. See store for details. Specials good Wednesday, November 26th through Saturday, November 29th. Marshall Jewelry, where she'll love it, guaranteed.
Daydreaming, son. It's time to get prepared. Time to get off your sofa and run yourself down to Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. Oh, my! 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Civilian soldier, they got everything you could need. That's right, the Surplus is unlimited. Surplus Unlimited ammo for babies and adults.
That's right, babies need camos too.
10 different styles of camo.
Oh, don't you look pretty.
550 cord, numerous colors, wool blankets, boots, hats, gloves, coats, shirts, tactical vests and belts, camping supplies, high quality army cots, and that hard to find P38 can opener. Save time, save money. Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. 801 Carlisle on the Douglas Highway across from the fishing lake. Gillette, Wyoming.
Hello, Americans. This is Rod with your local American-made store here in Gillette, Wyoming, where it's always made right here in the USA. Have you seen our stainless steel art? It's beautiful. Yes, and he will do custom. Framed artwork. Check out our selection. Top-of-the-line stuffed olives, flavored olive oils. And yes, we have toys and Okabashi sandals. Free pocket constitution with purchase. We are the solution for this great nation. Get informed. Don't forget your veterans. God bless America, and buy American. It matters. MyMadeInAmericaStore.com.
Do yourself a favor. Don't just listen to the show. See what Glenn's talking about at BoldRepublic.com. There you can watch the show live on YouTube or download the show and listen to it later. Now let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
Nothing on Ferguson yet. I'm still watching on a Ferguson verdict. But at this time, going to open up the phones for you. If there's anything you want to talk about, that's fine. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. And, of course, pretty much everything I'm talking about and a whole lot more you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. And that general I just had from West Papua, I'll have some more information on him because it's, well, it is a pretty, I know he's a little difficult to understand, but it's a pretty interesting story about what is happening in that country. And who's taking advantage of that country, and the people who are disappearing in that country. And as the general said, the people who are causing the trouble, well, are buying weapons from the United States. So it's worth coming to the United States to talk to some of our elected officials. I don't know if he's going to be meeting with, well, he's going to apparently be meeting with some governors, but some senators as well, including Senator Enzi from Wyoming. And he's already got an office at the UN, so apparently he'll have a chance to meet with some people at the UN and try to settle the issue. And if I find out anything more, as I do, I will. I just think it's interesting that this general will come to Wyoming to stay here for a time while he tries to arrange all of this and tries to find some help for his people. Now, since I'm on the war front, okay, are you sitting down? I say that you know when I say that, you need to sit down. Okay, take a breath. You got it? Here we go. President Obama quietly releases more Gitmo detainees. More. Here we go. President Obama has opened a new front in his hard line against the incoming Republican Congress by releasing more detainees from Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and lawmakers, of course, have objected. I'm wondering, why do this? Why release more detainees from Guantanamo Bay, considering the last time we did this, how many of them went right back to the Mideast and started fighting ISIL, with ISIL, or were found back in Afghanistan, for example. Pentagon announced Thursday 4 al-Qaeda fighters from Yemen, including a senior figure who apparently traveled to Afghanistan and worked with Arab extremists there. And a Tunisian extremist will be transferred to Slovakia, Georgia, and there's others that will be released. So, okay. There's your cranial explosion for the day. Now, at least this time, how many did we, what was it, 5 guys for one? Okay. It was a bad deal last time around. And many of these people that we've released just went right back to the front lines to wind up pointing guns right back at our own boys again. This is a brilliant idea. 2 more years of this guy, folks. 2 more years of this guy.
His lawyer says if the courts approve this way of gathering evidence, police could use all kinds of trickery to enter private places.
Pretend you're a federal agent and you're pretty sure some high rollers in a Vegas hotel suite are involved in some real bad stuff, like illegal sports betting bad.
Betting on sports? You people are freaking shitbags.
You're low on evidence, but high on moxie. What would you do? Faced with that scenario, FBI agents in Las Vegas got creative. They showed up at the door of the Caesars Palace suite, posing as computer repairmen, offering laptops to the wealthy guests inside.
Can I look it up just to make sure it's working?
When that didn't work, FBI agents cut the internet to the suite, then returned to the room pretending to be internet repairmen.
Cable guy.
I'll take a look at the router. That's probably where the problem is.
Once inside, they snuck around and gathered evidence, which they used to get a warrant.
Hey Lou, remind me to try that one.
The agents then headed back to the suite and arrested Paul Flois and 7 others for allegedly running an illegal gambling operation.
That's how you do police work. Results.
Flois' attorney says when agents asked a federal magistrate judge for a warrant, they carefully omitted the shenanigans they pulled to get the evidence.
Nicely done, sir. Nicely done.
And a cover-up is one thing, but there's something else here. This could be a test case that determines how much trickery law enforcement can use to enter any home.
The danger here is that agents will cut off not only the internet, but your electricity, your phone, your cable television.
You filming me? You filming me, punk?
But come on, don't federal agents have better things to do? Well, the FBI's most wanted list includes men wanted for kidnapping, rape, and murder. So instead of playing cable guy, scamming your way into a hotel room, and then allegedly covering it up in order to fight sports betting, how about spending more time busting kidnappers, rapists, and murderers?
Yeah, I would have done the whole strippergram thing. No, I'll get in that way. It's been kind of working out.
Follow the show on Twitter, submit your nominees for next month, and check out Holly Keller, this month's featured follower.
With tweetering me? Are you tweetering me?
No, Glenn, it doesn't matter if you're part owner of the company. No cigars in the studio. Oh, what is that smell? Put your shoes back on. I don't want to smell that. Look, if you want good talent, you have to put up with some bad habits. Let's get back in there with the original bad habit boy, Glenn Woods.
Republic Radio Show. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number to get in on the action at any time. And now you can change the subject. Interrupt me if you have to. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. And Scott has been patiently waiting through the commercial break. What you got for me, Scott?
Hey, Glenn. Yeah, hey, you. Before the break, you were talking about the release of these Gitmo detainees by the president. Well, I saw this headline today, and I don't know if you already talked about it earlier. I was just tuning in, but headline is the White House quietly releases plans for 3,415 regulations ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday.
In fact, I'm going to start the next hour with it, so it's okay that you picked it up now. And here's why. As far as I'm concerned, see, you, Scott, have too much freedom in your life. And we can't have that. And Lord knows what you're going to do with all of this freedom that you have.
That's right. I might cause trouble with that freedom, you know.
Yeah. There's not enough rules and regulations out there to restrain you. So that's why these regulations are being dumped on all of us. Because Lord knows, if you just let people, walk out of their house first thing in the morning and do whatever they want to do with their own lives, Lord knows the mayhem that you're going to have. So we need over 3,000 regulations.
Yeah, I think I just don't think I can feel safe without these regulations in my life.
Right.
It's just anxiety, thinking that what if I don't have these regulations? Yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's but in this article, and you'll probably touch on it a little bit later, there's 3 things that are really crucially important. 2 of them have to do with the well, maybe it's all 3 have to do with the EPA. I think all 3, but one of them, of course, is the emissions coming out of coal-fired power plants, and we know that the president. He said over and over again that he wants to shut these coal-fired power plants down, and he is hell-bent on doing that.
Right.
And so that was one of them. Another one was some kind of coal-fire plant ash rule.
Right.
You know, like I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the president hasn't, you know, gotten with the times, but I don't see any power plants that are spewing ash.
No, they're not. Well, here's where the president's probably getting that information, these radical environmental groups. And when I see them posting on Facebook and other places like that, I call them out on it. They will take a photograph of, let's say, one of the power plants here in Gillette, and then they will yellow the photograph to make the sky look yellow. And they also make sure to take the photograph with the sun on the other side of the steam, because that's primarily steam, as you and I know, leaving there. And that way it makes it look like it's black smoke. And then they tell the public, this is what's being released from these power plants. Yet, I mean, I'm here in Gillette. I'm surrounded by these power plants. And we have clean, clear skies.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, another one of those things on that, in this article anyway, they're talking about the waters of the U.S., and of course that's going to be another huge one that we need to fight with every ounce of energy we have.
Right.
And it's interesting, you know, if the EPA does decide to go through with that. First of all, they don't have the authority to do that. They're lawmaking, but the president doesn't care. He thinks he's an emperor.
Well, let me slightly correct something on there. No, the EPA did not have the authority, but Congress gave it to them, as well as both Democrat and Republican presidents. And what they did was, this is how it operates today in government. Congress, and also at your state level too, but okay, on the federal level, Congress will write an outline telling the EPA, here's what we want you to accomplish. And then in that, they write, the EPA is to write the rules to make this happen. That gives the EPA lawmaking authority. And when that's been taken to court and the EPA says, we were just doing what Congress told us to do, the courts agree. And that's how the EPA continues to get away with it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But that, I mean, the waters of the U.S., and I know you've talked about it, that's going to be a real interesting one, especially in Wyoming and other states where, you know, in Wyoming in particular, the water rights are owned by the state.
Right.
And so, you know, anyway, it's a lot of good stuff. But yeah, that caught my eye, and of course he's doing it shady. You know, he's going to release it before Thanksgiving when everybody's traveling and no one's going to pay attention. But for those who haven't done so either, you can go online, and I don't know if the window is closed.
Just go to my website, boldrepublic.com, and I have this on my daily outrage page, the exact article that you're reading from.
Now, do you know when the closing stuff for the feedback or whatever for public comment? I thought maybe that one was ended by the 15th, but I'm not sure about the waters of the U.S., and people really should take the time to get online and go ahead and file some public comment. Just do a quick Google search.
It is worth it. I'm not aware of the exact closing date. My impression would be if they're releasing the rules, then the comment period is closed, but it's worth checking out and go to the EPA website for that. Having said that, that doesn't mean that they're going to listen to you, but at least you're on record. The answer here is the next Congress needs to get busy defunding and shutting down most of the EPA, if not all of it.
That's right. And these rules, some of them, they're going to announce them, but some of them won't go into effect until later on. So like you said, and I think the date is still open, at least for some of these, where you can issue public comment. And boy, people of Gillette, Campbell County, our surrounding counties and states, they really need to get on board and go to that website, find it, and issue that public comment. Because they need to be on record, and people, we can't afford to be silent on this issue.
No, absolutely not. Well, then here's the next thing: when the new Congress steps in, the Republicans in charge of the House and Senate, we need to make sure that they have the backbone to shut this noise down. Because in the past, they haven't. They talk a great game to get elected, but they have no follow through.
Exactly. Well, it starts with leadership, and I really hope that they don't cave under pressure like they've done in the past.
All right, Scott. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, thanks.
everybody, welcome to Afterburner. I'm Bill Whittle. You know, when you take a look at the big picture in these days of the imperial presidency, you see so many freedoms under assault in so many places that it begins to feel utterly hopeless. But I think it does help to step back every now and then and realize just how free we are as a people, because when you get down to brass tacks, I don't think there's a greater freedom on the face of the earth now or throughout human history than jumping in your own car and heading out on the open road. One evening when I was 16, I was working at the Southern Cross Observatory at the Miami Space Transit Planetarium, and we were reading about Arizona's brand new Kitt Peak Observatory in Sky and Telescope magazine. And two of my astronomy geek friends and I thought it looked awesome, and one of us said, hey, you know, we ought to check that out. And the next day, that's what we did. We hopped in my friend's 1976 olive drab Ford Maverick, and on a $2.15 per hour paycheck, we got in the car and we headed west. Well, we headed north first, but then we headed west. We didn't have any money for motels. Who needs motels? We just drove and slept and drove and ate and drove and talked and drove and drove and drove. And that's the freedom I'm talking about. 3 a.m. on the American interstate system, the most amazing engineering work in the history of the world, with no one telling you where to go, how to get there, or when to arrive. It's just you and the road and your thoughts, and if you're lucky, your best friends. They may not be your best friends before you drive for 3 days, but they will be when you get there. Because there's nothing to do but talk about life and dreams and girls and kid around, and that pocket universe of yours is doing a mile a minute, bristling with radar detectors and CB radio antennas and every other legal means that free people use to defeat law enforcement when we can get away with it. By the way, if you've never been in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night, then you have never seen the real stars. I've driven from Florida to California back and forth 4 times, and I've never failed to stop the car, turn off the lights, step outside, and just stare up at a sky that is so dark it's actually gray with stars. The Milky Way is just leaping out at you, and you just stand there gaping. It's unbelievable. And that's how the entire world used to be before we came along. Now, as for me personally, my first car was a 1970 Camaro. You want to talk about political courage? That's political courage, showing you that picture right there. My current car, it's the first new car I've ever owned, is a 2012 Camaro. Now, 100 years ago, the richest people in the world might show up in a carriage pulled by 2 horses or 4 if they were showing off. I'm just a hard-working, regular American citizen. But I arrive in a carriage pulled by 323 horses, and those babies are pretty frisky. And cars are so much better today. Consumer Reports, as usual, knows how to make this point to demonstrate just how much safer cars have become. They produced a YouTube video of a head-on collision between a 59 Chevy Bel Air, I'm a 59 model myself, and a 2009 Chevy Malibu, and it is impressive. If you look at the difference between these 2 cars on the collision, it's just shocking. It's mind-boggling. That's another thing we take for granted these days, you know, is just how incredibly safe today's cars really are. It's an absolute wonder. You know, the kind of person that loves the open road and cars and long drives and freedoms, not the kind of person that hates humanity and sees it as a cancer on Mother Gaia after that inky black West Texas sky. The orange glow of a town or even a rest stop on the horizon, that's civilization. And, you know, when you push your luck and you're running low on gas, that glow on the horizon is a very lovely feeling. You know, of the many freedoms on the open road, the freedom to run out of gas in the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere is one of the most memorable. And, you know, I think that's why progressives hate cars so much, because they can't control a person in a car on the open road. You put someone on a bus or on a rail, you're basically telling them where they can go and what time they can get there, along with the rest of their comrades. But a kid in a car, well, that's freedom, no matter how old that kid is. You can see some amazing things, too, like the world's largest ball of twine, or Big Mike's Mystery House, or America's Stonehenge, the Cadillac Ranch. And I grin every time I drive westbound past Pee-wee's Dinosaurs out there in Cabazon, California. Means I'm getting close to home. Now, I also know that European intellectuals mock us for this sort of thing, but what do those cheese-eating surrender monkeys know about life anyway? They've never been in the back seat of your own steel and vinyl kingdom with fogged windows and an all-American girl, because if they had, they wouldn't be knocking it, believe me. They can go back to reading their Sartre in their little cafes and smoke their cigarettes, the losers. Now, I remember reading somewhere, I couldn't find the exact quote, but it was a case something like this, where one of those Euro-weenies once sneered at an American and said, "You Americans, your culture is nothing but cars, cheeseburgers, and rock and roll." And the American turned to him and said, What else do you need?
Bold Republic.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
And guess what this liberal will be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
I took the initiative in creating the internet. I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Well, you are not regulated enough. Let's face it. What? You thought you could just go outside and do whatever you wanted? What, do you think you were an adult or something like that? No. Because you need to be regulated more. That's how you make sure that a free people are free. You make sure that they have enough regulations to make them free. That's right. Regulations make you free. Don't forget that now. That's what Scott was calling about when he called in the last segment of the program. By the way, you can do that too. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. Now, I'm going to go on with my own topics, and I got too much to do in a 3-hour period, so a lot of these topics are going to spill over to next hour. But you can call and interrupt anytime you want by calling that number. And if you're watching by video, go ahead and use the box right next to me or in front of me here to drop in questions, comments, or obnoxious, snotty remarks. So while Americans are going to be focused on what food you're shoving in your face on Thanksgiving, over 3,000 regulations. The number is around 3,415 new government regulations are going to be dumped on you. Now, these are laws. Let's not fool around or beat around the bush with what's really going on here. These are laws. How do I define a law? This is my definition now, okay, not somebody else's. If you have to do it or else, or if you're caught doing it and you're punished, that's a law. And as Scott and I were talking about just in the last segment of the program, no longer is it just Congress that makes the laws. That's where it was before. It used to be just Congress could make the laws. Then the president would sign off on it and agree, and the president's job was to really manage the bureaucracy in order for the law to, whatever the law was, to happen. The president did not change the law. The courts were not to write laws. The courts were to take a look at the laws and say, is that constitutional, yes or no? That's what the courts were there for, to settle these things. The bureaucracy was there to simply just do what the law said needed to be done. That's it. That's what a bureaucracy is for. They make it happen. So in this case, let's say we had actual polluters dumping oil into rivers somewhere, and the EPA was told that if you find someone just dumping barrels of crude oil into a river, you go out there and arrest them. That's what the EPA would do, and they weren't allowed to do anything else. Now we have 4 branches of government, and they are all lawmaking branches, which, by the way, does lead to contradictory laws. So it's not, somebody actually won in court. I need to look this up for you guys at some point. There was an actual court case that was won where, the old saying, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, this guy said, no, the defendant said, no, that is an excuse. Look at how many rules, regulations, which are laws, and laws are out there. How can we possibly know all of this? Back in the days when it was nothing more than don't murder, don't steal, and a few basic laws like that, everybody understood it. And the judge actually sided with them. There's no way you can understand this anymore. So here's where we're at now. Congress writes laws. The president writes laws and rewrites laws. The courts are writing laws. We've seen the courts do it. And the bureaucracy has been given the power to write laws. And so at this point, we have 4 branches of government, because you know why? You're just too free. You are not regulated enough, and regulations make you free. George Orwell is spinning in his grave as I say that. Hi, Jerry. What you got for me?
Hey, Glenn. How are you doing
Very
today?
good.
Hey, just the other day I ran across this deal, since you're talking about laws. There, I don't know if you've seen it, but Saturday Night Live
Everybody
is
saw
famous
it.
for doing great spoofs, you know, for their cold starts and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Did a spoof of the old Schoolhouse Rock for I'm Just a Bill.
Oh, it was all over. In fact, one of the things, I was actually getting annoyed during the course of the weekend how many people were saying to me, have you seen this? Because it went viral. I mean, dear Lord, Saturday Night Live has been lame for a while. They nailed it on this one.
Oh, I know. And, you know, and here's the real thing. You know, Saturday Night Live has always been a pulse for how a president is doing.
Right.
And if they, you know, that was not at all flattering for Obama.
No. It was accurate.
So if he's losing the Saturday Night Live folks, he's really, you know, going down in flames.
Yeah, because they have always been very liberal and very forgiving of this president. So yeah, if you lost Saturday Night Live, you've lost your liberal base.
Yeah, but that was an absolutely hysterical little skit they did there. But
well, go ahead.
Oh, it's just, you know, because I remember, growing up, we had a lot of those, you know, that's when the Schoolhouse Rocks were new, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, and at one point during the video, the kid says, well, doesn't Congress have to vote or approve on you? And the executive order just kind of laughs and says, "Oh, you're so cute. You think that's the way government still runs?"
There you go. Yeah. Well, they ripped it apart. They absolutely nailed it. It's obviously they put a lot of work into it between the costumes, the backdrop, and the cartoon element that they put in there. That was, I think, one of the best bits Saturday Night Live has done in years, and that's something that I really, honestly do believe that both liberals and conservatives can agree on, because we both get upset when a president does what Obama has been doing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And the really funny thing about it is all the backlash that Saturday Night Live is getting for it. Because there's, like, on Twitter and, you know, all those twits on Twitter, they are sitting there talking about how bad and how messed up Saturday Night Live got it. And
yeah.
You know, but I really don't think they did. I think there's a lot more people that are like-minded with, you know, you or I, as far as how this president is doing and the way he's running our country.
Well, and they could have, to be honest, they could have done the same exact skit with George W. Bush. You know, are you still there? Well, I think I lost Jerry. If he wants to call back, that's fine. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. For those people who didn't see the skit, again, would you send me your address so I can get on Google Earth and zoom down on where you live and take a look at the rock that you live under. It started Sunday morning. I get a call from a friend, have you seen this? And before I could even post it on my website, it was viral all over the internet. So if you want to see the video, I'll describe it to you, but you got to see it. Go to my website, which is boldrepublic.com, and go to my Daily Outrage page, boldrepublic.com. It's on my Daily Outrage page. Now, what it is remember the old Schoolhouse Rock, I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill. So here they have somebody dressed up like that kid singing it. I'm sorry, standing there on the Capitol steps. The bill comes walking out singing it. And apparently it's not done that way anymore, because as the bill walks over to put his arm around Obama and say, and then the president signs me, Obama pushes him down the steps. And then the kid looks over, and there's an executive order standing next to him. I'm an executive order, and I just pretty much exist. That's it, is effectively what he said. You got to see the guy acted out because he's hysterical, especially when the executive order attempts to read himself. What? That's what? Are you kidding me? Immigration? The executive order doesn't even know what he's about. But all right, he says, I guess you go large or go home. So, and every time the bill tries to make it back to the top of the steps, Obama, and we're going to take you to court because that's not how it's done. Obama shoves the bill back down the court, down the steps, because that's how we do it now in America. And Jerry got it right. There's a line in there which I absolutely loved. But aren't you supposed to, kid ass, aren't you supposed to go through Congress? Aren't you supposed to have the House and Senate and you pass? Oh, that's cute. You think that's still how Washington works. That's not how Washington works. Let me go back to the headline that I had in front of me as I started this. White House quietly releases plans for 3,415 regulations ahead of Thanksgiving holiday. Now, that's because, again, you are not regulated enough. Don't you know regulations on your life, restrictions on your life make for a free country? Didn't you know that? Yeah, that's how you're free, is when you are regulated in every little thing that you do. That's what makes a free person free, So we now have 4 branches of government. Courts write laws now. Of course, Congress should be the only one writing laws. They were there in the first place. Now the president writes laws and rewrites laws, as in Obamacare. As in Obamacare, because when Obamacare was rammed down your throat, the president noticed that certain aspects of it were not working properly, so he took his pen out and just started rewriting whole sections of the law, which is how I think the president gets the idea that it's okay to rewrite immigration reform, or write it in the first place. Well, let's take a look at it. The president was allowed to take Obamacare and just rewrite it. So why can't he take our current immigration laws and just rewrite them? He got away with it with Obamacare. Why can't he do it? And that's what's happening now. And as I've already explained, the bureaucracy is given the ability, the power to write law by Congress. Congress, actually it's a step closer. There's one more step to it. Okay, here's the congressional part, which I've explained it before, but let's review it. Congress writes an outline. We want the EPA to fix the following. And the EPA has the power to write the rules to make that happen. You just gave the EPA lawmaking authority. That's why it's near impossible to take them to court and shut it down. Congress has taken the EPA to court. They have. And Congress lost. Because the Supreme Court simply just looked at the law in question and said, well, Congress, you gave the EPA the power to write these regulations, laws. And that's what they're doing. All right, there's one more part that just dawned on me now while I'm talking to you guys about this. There's one more part. The president is now directing the bureaucracy to write rules to make something happen. That's the president giving the bureaucracy lawmaking authority. Okay, so we have 4 branches of government now, and both the president and Congress are giving lawmaking authority to the bureaucracy. And then they complain when the bureaucrats get out of control. We have a new Congress coming into power first of the year. How do we deal with that? All right, I'm going to tell you how to deal with that, and that is up next. Now, it is wintertime. Have you noticed that? It is cold out there. I mean, freezing cold out there. And sometimes you come home, and even just having the heater on is not enough even when you're sleeping. Would you like a carpet that you can just roll yourself up in and keep warm? Fine, I'll tell you where to get one. Carpet Express Direct. They're located right smack in the middle of Gillette, Wyoming, but they serve northeast Wyoming. It's on Highway 59. They're right next to Prime Rib Restaurant. Carpet Express Direct will if you go there now and you talk to Chris, who's working the front office there, Carpet Express, their showroom, he'll let you lay down on the floor and he'll roll you up in the carpet. And he's kind of like a dentist when he asks you, when a dentist says, how's that feel? Am I poking? And you answer, have you done any fishing lately? And they know exactly what you're saying. Well, when you're inside the carpet, Chris will roll you up and ask, is that comfortable? He can understand you from inside the carpet. So you stop by Carpet Express Direct and tell Chris that you'd like to try a roll-up. And then tell him that I sent you.
I suppose you're planning a nice retirement, and you assume everything is paid for. But Wyoming didn't tell you. Who is paying for your pension?
I'm gonna owe lots of money, and it's all your fault. I don't want to pay for this, but you're making me.
Find out more at Wyoming2100.com.
Stan, why are you wearing a sweater with a bullseye?
Because it's hunting season.
Right, so...
And there are hunters everywhere.
Okay, but why the bullseye?
Well, if everyone's been shopping at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports...
Oh, right, that's bad.
The way I figure it, we don't stand a chance.
Oh, good point. We don't stand a chance.
Might as well give them a clean shot. With everything you need for hunting season. Rocky Mountain Discount Sports. With locations in Casper, Gillette, Riverton, Sheridan, and Cody, Wyoming. Nice knowing you, Frank.
You too, Stan.
Wyoming citizens, I come to call your attention to a matter of utmost importance and urgency that will affect each of us. Governor Meade, in backroom meetings, has been working for years, as he describes, to implement a refugee resettlement program in Wyoming. Meade has contacted the U.S. government to formalize a public-private partnership. My point is, were you asked your opinion or support of this partnership? Meade didn't even discuss the issue with our legislature. This program introduces incompatible cultures within our own. Many refugees in other American communities don't accept any aspect of U.S. culture, values, or laws. Do you want Meade, like President Obama, taking hard-earned tax dollars designated for our citizens to pay for a refugee resettlement program? We cannot allow recent outbreaks of disease and threat of lone wolf terrorism to jeopardize the safety of our families. I am Wyoming proud and want to assure we all are, today and for our future generations. Will you please help me?
Paid for by Citizens Protecting Wyoming.
Mommy, why is Thanksgiving your favorite holiday?
Oh, because Thanksgiving is when America comes together to show what the American spirit is all about. All across the nation, people kill animals and eat them, waving giant middle fingers at PETA.
So I don't understand. I mean, what
You see, real Americans don't like to be told what to do by a bunch of tofu-eating hippies.
Yeah, but
So we take a goose or a pig or a big bird like this turkey, and we stuff it full of stuffing like this. Then we shove it in a hot oven like so.
But Mom, I mean, shouldn't you have killed the bird dead before you did all that?
Oh, honey. Your father and I like our meat fresh.
This special Thanksgiving holiday message was designed specifically to hack off the condescending long-haired tofu-eating hippies that try to make us meat-eaters feel guilty this time of year. We hope that you enjoy the organic cardboard that you're eating this holiday. In the meantime, we're cooking our fresh kill on coal.
Sorting through the nonsensical nonsense that makes your life a living hell. It's Glenn Woods. BoldRepublic.com.
So what do we do with the new Congress coming in first of the year? To stop, and we can talk about backing up later, but just to stop the out-of-control bureaucracy, stop the out-of-control courts, stop an out-of-control president. It's not just this one. We have a long list of presidents who have exceeded their authority on executive orders, and I'm even just done arguing about that. We have. So how do you stop all of this? Well, Congress needs to regain some of its authority. Now, with the recent temper tantrum by the president when it comes to immigration, Congress is trying to figure out what to do here. Well, they don't know. The president has overstepped his bounds. What kind of action? Well, I guess we can decide not to appoint some of his, like we need a new Surgeon General. How do you, we'll just not appoint his Surgeon General is what we do. And Department of Justice, we need a new head of the Department of Justice, Attorney General there. I guess we'll just hold back that nomination. Oh, yeah, that's really going to show this lame duck president a thing or two. Come on, guys. This is the best the Republicans have to offer so far. Come on, guys. All right, step one. And by the way, for those of you who have your representatives on speed dial, God bless you. Would you do me a favor, if you would, please? Between, I don't know, however you talk to them, whether you pick up the phone and call them, whatever the case, write emails, whatever you do, let them know. No longer do we pass laws that are basically an outline, and the bureaucracy is to write the rules to make that happen. I don't care if we're talking state government, because whatever state you're listening to me in, they do the same thing. Your state government does the same thing, or federal government. That strips the bureaucracy of these powers. No longer do we write laws telling the bureaucracy, you guys make the rules to make this happening. You are giving the bureaucracy lawmaking authority. Now, it might be a little more difficult to strip the president of his authority, well, the perceived authority, the authority he thinks he has to write executive orders. It might be a good idea to go back, and here's where I would start. Back up and take a look, Republican Party, at what an executive order is really supposed to be. What was the purpose of the executive order? Now, this is not a conversation about what president got away with what. I hate it when people do that. I mean, this is the kind of argument you should have gotten over in the sandbox. Seriously, back when you were a kid playing in the sandbox, this is how these arguments went. Well, President Obama just wrote an executive order regarding immigration. Well, so did George Bush and so did Ronald Reagan. Okay, first of all, no, they didn't. But, okay, for sake of argument, we'll say they did. Because I could argue the point, but, I'm not even going to do that. First off, you're arguing sandbox arguments, the kind of arguments you had when you were a kid in the sandbox. So, step one, it was wrong for Obama to write the executive order on immigration that he just wrote. Just like it was wrong for George Bush to do it, just like it was wrong for Bill Clinton to do it, just like it was wrong for Ronald Reagan to do it. And every time a president takes more executive authority power, they're all pushing the power a little bit further, a little bit more. The president, the office of the president, is getting more and more powerful to the point that eventually it's out of control, if it isn't already, which I think we can argue it pretty much is already. The first thing would be to educate the American people on what executive authority is really supposed to be, and give them a history lesson on when presidents have exceeded their authority and when it went bad. Step one, educate the Congress about this. Step two, educate the American people. Then Congress needs to take real steps and get busy taking that power away from the president.
It was just reported in Bloomberg News that the Obamacare numbers were completely inflated by about 380,000 individual sign-up subscribers. And what's really disturbing about this is that they say that they did this because they counted dental plans as actual healthcare sign-ups. And they did this to actually meet their quota of over 7 million subscribers. So think about this. A couple months ago, the Obamacare administration said, hey, we exceeded our enrollment numbers, over 7 million people. In fact, they said they had hit about 8 million people, and then it had dropped about 1 million. Either way, they said they had met their number. But it turns out it was totally bogus. It was phony. This is not a Republican conspiracy. It turns out they inflated the numbers by counting dental plans, dental-only plans, as healthcare plans. And it just so happens it takes their 6.7 million, which is what it was, to, I guess, over the 7 million threshold, so they can say it worked before the election. Really? They want us to believe that this was a mistake. Now, one of the crazy things about this is when they first announced the numbers and they were all proud of themselves, a bunch of conservative pundits were saying that the numbers were cooked. They cooked the books. And all the left-wing blogs and Media Matters said, oh, look, it's Republican conspiracy theories. Look at these crazy people. They're Obamacare truthers. Well, it turns out that every single one of them was true. They were all accurate. They were right to be suspicious at the numbers, and they used these inflated numbers to basically show the American people that Obamacare was working. Now, again, I've never been completely wowed by the fact that enrollment numbers have increased after Obamacare, since it's illegal not to have health insurance. We shouldn't be surprised that more people are signed up to health insurance if you promise to fine them if they don't do it. That's not exactly an improvement, but since many people are losing the coverage that they wanted, many people are losing the doctors that they wanted, it clearly is not a policy that's working, and based on Jonathan Gruber, it was done with intentionally misleading the American people, not being transparent, and now they say that they're using dental plans as health insurance. Now again, here's another reason why I don't believe that this was just a mere mistake. They claim on one hand that people were having substandard health insurance, which was a bogus argument, but they had substandard health insurance, and that's why those plans were canceled, to get better insurance, which they have to pay for. But dental insurance, by definition, has zero health insurance, so by definition, it is the worst health insurance you can have because it has no health insurance. So now they're counting an example of something that has zero health insurance and wouldn't even make the regulations under what a health insurance plan could have, because it has dental only. So these are bogus numbers, so they weren't transparent to get the law passed. Jonathan Gruber laughed about doing it. Now that we find out they inflated their numbers to meet their quotas before an election, and now they want to say it's a mere mistake. I don't believe it. Do you believe it?
Hi, my name is Nicholas. I run a little local newspaper that I happen to own in a small town. I have to do it pretty much all by myself. I do have some employees that do a wonderful job, but advertising, sales, PR, reporting, photography, bookwork, sure, I would love to hire some people to help me. But government taxes, rules, regulation, they all get in the way. Make it impossible.
Hi, my name is Chris. I sell and install flooring. I'm proud to say I own my own company. I should be on the floor right now selling to my customers, but instead I'm back here in this little hole I call my office, trying to catch up on paperwork. I was actually able to make a lot more money when I could run my company. Thanks, big government. Because of you, my life sucks more and more every day.
All I want to do is replace my washing machine. But thanks to the EPA, my choices are limited to energy-efficient models that don't work worth a damn. Thanks, big government. My life didn't suck enough.
Everything Glenn talks about is on his website, and that website is updated daily to keep you informed and scared. BoldRepublic.com. Back to Glenn Woods.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Now, of course, it is an open phone segment right now, which some people only do on a Friday. I make sure every day you guys get a chance to call in after I've blown off some steam myself, and you get to call the show, change the subject if you want, interrupt me if you have to, that's fine. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. So I've had several people ask me to comment on the inflated numbers, which the Obama administration has admitted to having inflated the numbers. And about how many people have signed up for Obamacare. Now, before I get into that, let me talk to those people who out there, and I know you're there because you send me a note every so often, people who are still supporters of Obamacare. All right, listen carefully. And I really do mean this. Whether you think it's a good idea or not, do you think it's a good idea that in order to pass a good idea, you have to lie to the American people? We already have a whole list of lies that have been exposed through the Gruber controversy. A whole list. Things, by the way, we were telling you Obamacare supporters about for a long time. We have a list. They had to lie about pretty much everything, and the reason giving is because the American people are not smart enough to understand. The American people would just never let this pass if we told them the truth about it. Because we're just too stupid. It's such a great idea. You had to lie to us about it and then force us to become part of it, whether we liked it or not. That's how great of an idea that it is. And then as the numbers started to come out and we noticed the failure of Obamacare, you had to lie. So over 8 million people signed up in the first round that the exchanges were open. Okay, let's take a look at that 8 million people. Here's what we know now. First off, there were those people who had to sign up 2, sometimes 3 times because the website would crash. And then they would log back in and try to get under the name and the password they just created. But because there was some corrupt file or something in there, file, program, whatever, they couldn't sign in under the name and password they had created. So they had to create a new one. This would happen 2 or 3 times. Well, that inflates a bunch of numbers right there because that happened to a lot of people. Then there were the people who signed up for Obamacare who never made their first payment. Oh, they signed up for it. They just never made a single payment. But they were counted as having signed up for it, even though they never made a payment. Then there were the people who signed up and made maybe the first or second payment, maybe even made a third payment, but couldn't afford it. And you were told premiums were going to go down. And yet in most every single case, premiums did not go down. Premiums for most people that have signed up through the Obamacare exchanges have gone through the roof. They can't afford it, and many people have dropped out. Now, finally, we find out that in order to inflate the numbers, to make the numbers say what they had predicted, we're now going to take a bunch of dental plans, which have nothing to do with Obamacare, just a bunch of people who signed up for dental plans. We're going to take that, we're going to dump it on Obamacare and say, see, these are people signing up for Obamacare. Okay, so now out of over 8 million people having signed up for Obamacare, where are we at now? We're nowhere near the 8 million people. I've got another story here, which I'm going to get to next for you. It turns out that most states that decided to do their own exchange, in other words, cooperate with the federal government, cannot afford Obamacare. And they're finding this out quickly. Most states are finding out that they cannot afford to continue with Obamacare. If that's the case, what next?
BoldRepublic.com. Yeah, Yeah, it seems the Higgs transponder flagellated your subtwell drive and capacitated your moron circuit.
Does your mechanic speak another language?
So I figured we reversed the polarity on the latch trigger and transposed the Weller circuit, and that should do it.
Some mechanics take advantage of the fact that you can't speak or understand them.
Yep, this is going to do it, but it's going to be expensive.
But at Ideal Auto, we speak your language.
This broke. Me fix. Affordable.
Now, anybody can understand that. Get your car repaired with the people who speak your language. Ideal Auto, 2901 Dogwood Avenue, Gillette, Wyoming, 307-686-2259.
You could either spend $100 getting your phone fixed, or you could go ahead and spend $400 to replace it. At Selectel Wireless in Gillette, we fix phones. Most generally, what breaks is the digitizer or the LCD. This is from being dropped, being smashed, thrown against the wall. No, seriously, 9 times out of 10, people throw their phones. Well, we can fix that too. Save money, fix it, don't replace it. Come see us at Selectel Wireless, next to Office Depot in Gillette, Wyoming. But if you do need a new phone, we have those too.
To my darling wife and kids, I'm writing to you what might be the last thing I ever say. I'm trapped in the bathroom, you see. The toilet is clogged. If I open the door right now, it might be the end for us all. I think it might go all the way down the sewer line. Maybe the clog even goes to the septic. Well, I'm not sure if it needs to be cleared or pumped. Please call Roto-Rooter right now. They're the only qualified service in Northeast Wyoming. Just go find the card for Roto-Rooter under the magnet on the refrigerator. The guy's name is Brian. The phone number is 307-686-1573. If you don't get this note in time, I love you.
You could stay at home and watch the big game all alone. Or you can go to Lakeside Liquor and watch the big game on the big screen with all your friends. $2 off pizza during the game. Buckets of beer. 6 for $10 during the game. And 16-ounce Bud Light 5 for $15. Big games were meant to be watched in a big way. So if you're near Gillette, Wyoming, get out of the house and get to Lakeside Liquor. Lakeside, where your shift change is our happy hour. Jenkins!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jenkins, I'm not sure I like this new minimum wage thing. Things are a little different around here.
Well, sir, since you replaced almost everyone with automation, it sure as heck sounds different around here.
Yes, slapping my secretary on the bottom just isn't the same.
I've been trying to get a date with a new intern in accounting.
Yeah, how's that working out for you?
She hasn't said a word to me, sir.
Take her out for Chinese.
Sir, I think she was made in China.
Like those foreign girls, do you, son?
Whatever you say, sir.
Speaking of accounting, here we save all this money by automating to avoid raising the minimum wage, but now we're getting taxed more than ever before.
Unemployment and welfare is expensive, sir, and one way or another, you're paying for these people.
Good point.
Sorting through the nonsensical nonsense that makes your life a living hell. It's Glenn Woods. OldRepublic.com.
So as it turns out, most states out there are not able to pay for health care exchanges from Reason Foundation. Reason Online is, you can just find them at Reason.com. Great stuff, Libertarian think tank. States struggle to pay for health care exchanges. The federal government spent, I'm reading from the story now, federal government spent billions funding the development and implementation of state-run health care exchanges under Obamacare. Many of those states now struggle even to get through, well, the whole enrollment period as it is. The federal grants provided to operate the exchanges under the law are about to run out. And as the Associated Press notes, some of the states running their own exchanges don't yet know how they're going to come up with the money to fund these operations. So for those people, and I don't care what state you're living in, they exist. You heard them during this past election. I can't believe that we didn't take Medicaid expansion, and I can't believe, that's what they sound like to me. They sound whiny like that. And I can't believe, the nasally thing going on. Those kind of people. My name's Eugene. Yeah, those people. I can't believe that we didn't sign up for the Obamacare exchange thing. Well, here would be why. Because we don't know how we're going to pay for this now. Rhode Island, for example, received high marks for the smooth rollout of Health Source in Rhode Island, which is what they call it, amid last year's stumbles by the federal government. And the agency director says the state's healthcare revolution has begun. That's what they call it. It's a healthcare revolution. But the state does not have any way to pay for the exchange's long-term operations. And some lawmakers in the state's General Assembly have suggested shifting to the federal exchange. Now, let me tell you what the real problem with that is. If you listen to the, we ought to call it, the Nixon tapes? I know we don't have tape anymore, but you might want to call these the Gruber tapes. Or Gruber Gate sounds pretty good after Watergate, but okay, anyway. So if you listen to the Gruber recordings, the Gruber files, ooh, that's pretty good. If you listen to the Gruber files, what you find is and this is what Gruber said, and he's one of the chief architects of Obamacare and Romneycare. The only way Romneycare worked in Massachusetts was because they were able to get Senator Kennedy to take almost $500 million a year and funnel it to Massachusetts to pay for it because Massachusetts didn't have the money to pay for it. Now, Gruber's supposed to be a really smart guy. All the liberals thought he was. Well, once again, is this smart? In Gruber's words, not mine, in order for Obamacare to work, what you're going to have is every single state is going to have their own exchange. Why? Because the federal government itself doesn't have the money to pay for this. It's going to have to be on the states. It's going to have to be a state burden. But that wasn't going to work. The court said we have to set up an option here, some kind of an option, for the states to either make their own exchanges or to get into the federal exchanges. And Gruber was frustrated. If the states all don't have their own exchanges, we can't pay for this. It's got to be every single state has to have their own exchange. Well, not every single state has its own exchange. And those that do have exchanges, many of them are looking and saying, how are we going to pay for this? Especially when, the federal grant money was sort of a Kickstarter. The federal grant money came in to get the state exchange going, and then the state was supposed to take over itself. But now that it's time for the states to take it over themselves, they don't have the money to do this. For all of you who wanted to repeal Obamacare, and I was with you on it. I mean, I'm one of those. I just wish the whole thing had never happened. I was hoping that the courts would have done the right thing, but they didn't. I wanted to see it repealed just like you. You know something? Don't worry. This sucker falls apart under its own weight. For many different reasons, this thing falls apart, not just for one reason. But one of the reasons Obamacare falls apart is the one I'm talking about right now. Well, the other one is what I talked about in the last segment, which is that there's a lot of people who are currently paying these higher premiums and they can't afford them and they're dropping out. That causes the system to fall apart. The federal government does not have the money to keep funneling to the states, and the states don't have the money to keep this going, and so the whole thing falls apart. So Vermont's exchange budget is also short. Officials there acknowledge it could face about $20 million shortfall by the end of the year. The state hopes to, the pending federal grants will fill the gap. Other states like Colorado, District of Columbia, finding their exchanges through fees, tax health plans, and so on. District of Columbia system plans, well, they have tax plans for their people. Interesting. Absolutely fascinating that they said all these. Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm saying fascinating. These are supposed to be geniuses. These are supposed to be smart people, smarter than you and I. These people have major degrees from major universities. I call them intellectual idiots myself, but okay. And we, in their eyes, we are the dumb ones. We are the ones who just don't understand. We are the ones who weren't able to figure out how this brilliant system was going to work, so they had to lie to get it past us because we're that stupid. And now that we see it falling apart, well, who are the dumb ones here? Honestly.
My name is Carol Hinders, and I've owned Mrs. Lady's Mexican Food for 38 years. On May 22nd, 2013, when I had just finished having breakfast with my grandkids and we were going to do our crossword puzzle, I got a knock on the door, and I went, and it was 2 IRS agents who informed me that they had closed my business bank account and seized all my money, which was almost $33,000.
Federal law requires banks to report cash deposits greater than $10,000. The federal government used civil forfeiture to seize Carol's bank account, claiming that by making frequent small cash deposits, she was evading that requirement. The government calls this structuring and wants to keep all of Carol's money without even charging her with a crime.
How can I be committing a crime by depositing money I worked for and deposited in my own bank account? In 30 years of banking with the same bank, no one ever mentioned that I was making my deposits wrong.
Civil forfeiture turns the principle of innocent until proven guilty on its head. Once your property is taken, it's up to you to prove your own innocence to get it back in expensive litigation against the federal government.
I had to scramble, I had to borrow, I had to beg, I had to put money on my credit cards, things I've never done before. It's been a year from hell.
If the government had asked Carol why she frequently makes cash deposits, they would have learned that her restaurant doesn't accept credit cards and she doesn't want to keep a lot of cash on the premises. Instead, the government is treating Carol like a criminal just for running an honest cash business.
I've decided to fight this fight because I didn't do anything wrong. They took my money, and I don't think they should have the right to do that. At least they should have to prove that I did something wrong before they take my money. And I want to stand up for it because I don't want it to keep going on.
Everything Glenn talks about is on his website, and that website is updated daily to keep you informed and scared. BoldRepublic.com. Back to Glenn Woods.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. By the way, you can change the subject if you want. Interrupt me if you have to. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. And, of course, pretty much everything I talk about and a whole lot more, my website is boldrepublic.com. You can catch all 3 hours of the program if your station doesn't carry it by going to my website. Here's how you can get the show archives. You can watch the show because there's cameras in the studio. Hi, how you doing? There's also, you can download just the audio to whatever device you have, phone, tablet, tower, whatever. And if you're not some high-tech guy like that, you can just click on, there's a link there that you can just click on, and it plays it right off my website. So there's many different ways that you can go ahead and listen to the show if you don't get all 3 hours of it, or if you missed part of it, whatever the case may be. Let me get to the last few states here that are struggling to pay for Obamacare. There's more than just this, but I just want to give you an overview. States like, and understand what's happening now. Obamacare is falling apart. Of course it was going to fall apart before it ever really got up and running. And part of the problem is just how they were going to pay for the darn thing. So with no way really to pay for it, they had to find different ways of hiding taxes and fees and mandates and yada, yada, yada. And it still isn't coming together. So many states set up their own healthcare exchanges. And they were initially kick-started by the feds, but your state was supposed to take it over. So what state are you in? Colorado, District of Columbia, those two are funding their exchanges through fees and taxes on health care plans. So when you buy a health care plan, you are taxed Well, that just increases the cost, doesn't it? I thought this was called the Affordable Care Act, but they're taxing your health plan to pay for the exchanges. District of Columbia system taxes plans that aren't sold through the exchange. Officials tell AP News because the fee would have been too high if it only taxed plans sold in the exchange. Well, that's not going to work. California is holding on to $184 million of federal money to pay for what they expect to be a shortfall, which of course is coming, and has also instituted a $13.95 per month fee on individual plans, both of which are expected to help pay for the expected budget shortfalls through 2016. Here's the question, though. What about after that? Because they have no plan after that. It gets bigger after that. Remember, this sucker is phased in over time and just keeps getting more expensive, this Affordable Care Act. Harder to say, but it's going to continue to be a challenge for states like this to keep afloat. So if you're in one of those states that said, you know, this whole Obamacare exchange thing, this doesn't make any sense. We're just not going to be a part of it. Because, frankly, the federal government doesn't have the money, and we don't have the money to do this. So, no, we're not going to bust our budget over this. California doesn't know anything about busting their budget. It's far beyond broken. The pieces are so small in California, their budget pieces, it's like grains of sand at this point. So what, I mean, as Hillary would say, what possible difference could it make if they added more debt onto it? Most of the states out there right now that signed on for the exchange have no idea how they're going to pay for the exchange, and so they're going to revert over to a federal system. They're going to turn it over to the feds. Hey, I got news for you. The feds have no idea how they're going to pay for this because they were hoping the states were going to take it over. So you wanted Obamacare to come to an end. Well, it might be dealt a crushing blow in court because there's more cases coming to court. This is definitely going to tear it apart here. Oh, by the way, for those people who keep saying Medicaid expansion, we got a Medicaid expansion because the federal government is waving billions of dollars in front of us. We got to take that money because there's people out here who are sick and needy, and the feds, they're waving all of this money, and we can take this money and pay for all of this. The feds don't. Wake up. The feds don't have the money to pay for this. Sure, they can borrow and print some fake money and give you a bump in the shortfall. But in the long run, they have no way to pay for this. I mean, it's time that some people, you know what really gets me? I suppose it gets some of you folks out there too. Is you ever talk to someone who believes that the United States is not broke? That we have all the money in the world just to keep doing stuff like this? You try to talk to them about the national debt, and they go back to one of those sandbox arguments again. For those who haven't heard, I just made up that term today. Sandbox argument is the kind of arguments that stupid little twitty kids used in the sandbox when you were in school. You tell them we can't possibly pay for this program because the federal government is broke. It doesn't have the money. Well, George Bush spent too much money. What does that have to do with anything? Well, Ronald Reagan spent so much money. Well, oh, God's sakes. You're not listening. You want to do all of these fantastic things with money that you don't have. We can, if you want to point fingers and blame, have a good time with that. Now let's get down to reality. The money does not exist to do what you want to do. Therefore, we can't do it. Third hour of the program just ahead. Hang in there, folks. News time, then here we go.
Deep in the depths of the ocean lives a marvelous creature sometimes referred to as the floppy spider of the sea. But its true name comes from a Greek word meaning 8-footed because it has 8 arms. There are 2 major suborders of octopuses, the Serina and Inserina. The serrate octopuses look a bit like an alien got freaky with a weather balloon. They have 2 little fins, a small internal shell, and lots of little cilia next to their suckers. The other suborder, which we will be looking at today, are the Inserina. No internal shell, although some do try to fake it. Many of you will know the amazing color and texture changing capabilities of the octopus, as well as its ability to fart ink at a moment's notice, evolution at its finest. Perhaps the most remarkable feature of the octopus is its intelligence. They are the most intelligent of all of the invertebrates. Technically not tons of competition there. Clams are stupid. I'm sorry I said it, but they are dumb as hell. What is amazing is that while octopuses can learn and remember complex tasks like opening child-proof jars and moving through mazes, they are using an intelligence that has evolved very differently than our own. Unlike our intelligence, which is mainly centralized in our head hole, the octopus has distributed intelligence. 3/5 of all of its neurons are located in its arms. In a way, each of its arms actually has a mind of its own, which is amazing. Unless, after a while, you found out that one of your arms was an apple. That would suck. These arms are so capable that even when they are severed, they will continue to search for and capture food, and then try to bring that food back to a non-existent mouth hole. Some octopuses will actually remove one of their own arms when threatened and let it wriggle away to confuse the hell out of predators. Data point of 1, but it would confuse the hell out of me. Each arm of the octopus is equipped with over 250 suction cups, each one with the ability to rotate and grasp independently. Not only are they grabby, but the suction cups contain sensory receptors, which allow it to taste and smell what it touches. It is widely known that the interestingness of an animal is proportional to how difficult it is to figure out where its butthole is. The octopus is therefore very interesting, because its mouth is exactly where I thought its butt should be. I'll be honest with you, I still don't really know where it is. But my search history does contain the phrase, pictures of an octopus's butt. Inside the octopus's mouth is a beak, the only hard part of the Inserina body, meaning that the octopus can squeeze through any hole larger than its beak. The tentacles guide food towards the beak, where venomous saliva incapacitates prey before the horror begins. I told you, clams are stupid. When it comes to moving, the octopus has a variety of options. It can crawl, or use a water jet called a siphon, or it can do this, which is my favorite. Some scientists have argued that 2 of its arms should be characterized as legs. I wonder why. They can walk. Octopuses can even move on land quite effectively. Yes, they get a little mushy on land, but don't judge. It's like reverse shrinkage. Imagine what they think when we skinny dip. What happened to your little arm? That's what they say. Although the octopus's 8 arms may seem identical, one of the male's arms is actually a hectocotylus, which functions like a penis. Therefore, shaking hands with a male octopus is sort of like playing Russian roulette. But instead of dying, you risk your hand getting pregnant. The hectocotylus is used to transfer spermatophores to the female, either by inserting it into a hole in her mantle, or by tearing it off and presenting it to the female for later use. To understand this, imagine if you were on a date, and your date reached down and, well, that is how an octopus do. To the octopus, human sex looks really, really boring. Like we're just saying hello to each other. Because when they get it on, it can get crazy. When the female has fertilized her eggs, she retreats to an underwater crevice and attaches her eggs to the roof. She will stay with them, gently blowing fresh water over them, protecting them as she slowly starves to death. Basically, everything they do is hardcore. When her job is done, she is gone. But thousands of little babies emerge, floating. Just beautiful. Sort of like the ending of Charlotte's Web, except underwater. And without the farm animals, too, they would all drown. They would die. The dancing pig wouldn't last a second, really. The duck would do okay, but one floating duck does not a children's book make. If you're writing a children's book, one animal can die. Not all of them. Only a clam would write that sort of crap. And they're dumb as hell.
There's never been a day in the last 4 years I've been proud to be his vice president.
For the first time in my adult lifetime, I'm proud of my country.
Do me a favor, could you say senator instead of ma'am? It's just the thing. I worked so hard to get that title.
But resist, we must. We must and we will much about that be committed.
Maybe Corpsman Bouchard, a three-letter word.
Jobs. J-O-B-S. Jobs. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put y'all back in chain.
Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Now they're picking on Winnie the Pooh. No, now Winnie the Pooh is no longer politically correct. If you can't have Winnie the Pooh, we're just completely screwed here. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, here, what are they doing with the Pooh? I like Winnie the Pooh. I really enjoyed Christopher Robin. You know what I like most about the cartoons? That you remember when you were, for those of you who are not old enough to remember the little cartoon Winnie the Pooh, bite me, okay? Because I remember it. I was a kid watching TV. On would come a Winnie the Pooh special around, especially the holiday season. What I loved most about it, second I loved was the artwork. I thought was absolutely amazing. But what I loved most about Winnie the Pooh was the guy that they got to voice Winnie the Pooh. Oh, he was so good. I've never done it. I've got to look up a picture to find out what that guy looked like. If you never saw a Winnie the Pooh cartoon, I would say watch it, despite the story that I'm about to read you. Then look up to see who the voice was of Winnie the Pooh. What a great voice. Such character to it. Now he is politically incorrect. And so some town has banned him. Not in America, but don't worry, it'll come here. Now, before I tell you what they're banning him for, if you haven't heard already, oh God, these people. I'll give you my theory again on who these people are. There was a time in history, and it wasn't long ago, people would get up before sunup, and in order just to survive, you had to work until after sunset. Then you were so exhausted you had no choice but just to go to bed. And the next morning you got up and did it again. And so there was no time to sit around and think of stupid garbage like what I'm about to tell you. There's part of me that wishes that we could get back to that. Not only would we all be thinner, and I'm not saying let's go low tech, I'm saying not only would we all be thinner, well, maybe I don't want to go back to that because then I wouldn't have anything to talk about. These idiots have been given time to think. And now that they have time to think, they do what I'm about to tell you in these next two stories. A Polish town, you are not going to hear any Polish jokes from me. I am leaving it up to you. Write your own Polish Winnie the Pooh jokes. I'm kind of thinking they write themselves. Polish Winnie the Pooh, it writes itself. Do not look at me. I'm not going there. No, I am not. I can see the smirk on your face through the radio. I can see it now. Polish town bans Winnie the Pooh from the playground and as a mascot and everything else for being a hermaphrodite. In other words, they're not quite sure of what Winnie the Pooh's sex is. And that's offensive to them. Well, now, maybe Winnie the Pooh needs to, he is a bear after all. I didn't know. I mean, the question always has been, does a bear poop in the woods? I didn't think Winnie the Pooh needed a gender-neutral bathroom. He's in the woods. He can go anywhere he wants. But for those people who say, oh, no, we have to have gender-neutral bathrooms for Winnie too. And since we are talking about Winnie the Pooh, again, the jokes write themselves. So, okay. Winnie the Pooh has to poo in the woods. Great. All right. Fine. The story's making me go. Don't look at me like that. The story's making me go there. So they can't tell what sex he is. And there are those in America that would say, well, that's a good thing. And we should embrace his gender neutralness or whatever he is. Okay, here's my answer to this. The first time I heard this, I thought, you know something? It has nothing to do with whether he's a boy or a girl. It's a stuffed teddy bear. And it's a stuffed teddy bear for a boy who's too young to even understand his own sexuality. He's such a little boy. The answer is Winnie the Pooh doesn't need to have a sex. He doesn't need to be a boy or a girl. He's a stuffed animal for a child who is too young to understand his own gender identity. Okay? So you can just get over that. Oh, but it gets worse. So Winnie the Pooh has been banned from local playgrounds in Poland after an outraged counselor declared the state of, here's the next one, the way Winnie the Pooh dresses in public, because he was banned for, I am not making this up. This is an actual news story. You can go to my website and look it up. I swear to God. Winnie the Pooh was on a playground with some kid, and some idiot, well, you can't tell what the gender is. What, do you want little dangly bits from Winnie the Pooh? Is that what you want? You want little things dangling down there so you know what the gender is? It's a teddy bear. Next, it was offensive because Winnie the Pooh has a short little shirt that goes about down to his belly button. Well, why doesn't Winnie the Pooh wear pants? He wanted to know. My answer is actually, I'm going to answer a question with a question. I know some people really get offended when you answer a question with a question, but I think in this case, answering a question with a question is really appropriate. You want to ask, why isn't Winnie the Pooh wearing pants? No. The question is, why is Winnie the Pooh wearing a shirt? He's a teddy bear. Tell him he's got to be wearing a shirt. So if the guy's that offended, that just take the shirt off and go, there you go. He's like any other bear. He's got fur. It doesn't matter. By the way, it's a stuffed animal, for Pete's sakes. All right, so let's find out what happened in this Polish town here. Write your own jokes. And by the way, if you do write your own jokes, you can go ahead and send them to me. Just go to my website, boulderrepublic.com. Email me the joke. I will decide if it's appropriate to read on the air or not. So let's read the story here. During a local council meeting in the small town of Tuzin or something like that, the beloved bear's attire and lack of genitalia were debated for several counselors and for several hours. Really? You're going to debate? These are supposed to be adults, by the way, debating the lack of Winnie the Pooh genitalia. They insisted that Winnie the Pooh was an inappropriate role model for young children because he was a hermaphrodite. Apparently, the city council in this town has nothing to do. This is what they do. A leaked tape of the council meeting showed one counselor, a woman, saying, anyone who knows Winnie the Pooh knows he has no sex genitalia. Oh, a reasonable person in the room. Why would Winnie the Pooh not have genitalia? Because it's a teddy bear. It's a toy. Pete's sakes. The counselor wasn't adamant that her peers also be educated about the origins of the poor hermaphrodite Pooh. One counselor compared Winnie the Pooh with the much-loved Polish bear, and there's some Polish bear, I can't pronounce it, who said was a better choice as a representation of the playground because he was fully dressed. So are you guys going to go into the woods? Because there's a lot of naked bears in the woods. If you're upset with a teddy bear, I would like you guys to go tranquilize some bears and go put some clothes on them if this is what offends you. And by the way, there's also we have books about rabbits that are wearing little vests. I mean, come on, people. Quoting here, looking at both of these bears, one is completely dressed, the other one is only dressed from the top up. Why, that's offending. It's half naked, which means it's completely inappropriate for children. This is what happens when people have too much time on their hands. But a local survey of restaurants by a Polish TV news station. Oh, God. You know what I think here? Okay, let's think about the reporter for just a minute. Either the reporter thought this was hysterical and went out to cover the story, or the reporter is now hitting the bottle at home and ashamed to look his wife in the eye. Because he wanted to be a great reporter. I mean, the next Woodward and Bernstein kind of, like those Americans are. But no, he's out covering the story like this. So a survey of residents, local Polish TV program revealed that not everyone considered the state of poos undressed a problem. Let's talk about undressed poo, shall we? It's ridiculous that law officials are wasting such time on such issues, one man said. Another woman compared poo's low intellectual, well, the low intellect of not just the bear, but compared it to the council members. Quoting here, I've even written a poem that represents the discussion. Winnie the Pooh is an alcoholic and a liar. He walks with no underwear and has cut off his genitalia. Now that's someone that I admire. If they're going to go there, someone just decided, let's go there. Fine. Winnie the Pooh is completely a mess. The reason Winnie the Pooh, oh, and by the way, he hangs around with little boys. If you're going to go this ridiculous, go. You know some of the best ways to defeat this kind of ridiculous behavior is just to get even more ridiculous and embarrass them. Now, no pun intended on the next story, which we'll get into next. Winnie the Pooh, apparently, according to these people, they're really concerned that he lacks genitalia, enough that they actually had a city council meeting about it, that Winnie the Pooh lacks genitalia. The next story I have for you is about the Nutcracker.
Glenn Woods, BoldRepublic.com.
Wyoming citizens, I come to call your attention to a matter of utmost importance and urgency that will affect each of us. Governor Meade, in backroom meetings, has been working for years, as he describes, to implement a refugee resettlement program in Wyoming. Meade has contacted the U.S. government to formalize a public-private partnership. My point is, were you asked your opinion or support of this partnership? Meade didn't even discuss the issue with our legislature. This program introduces incompatible cultures within our own. Many refugees in other American communities don't accept any aspect of U.S. culture, values, or laws. Do you want Meade, like President Obama, taking hard-earned tax dollars designated for our citizens to pay for a refugee resettlement program? We cannot allow recent outbreaks of disease and threat of lone wolf terrorism to jeopardize the safety of our families. I am Wyoming proud and want to assure we all are, today and for our future generations. Will you please help me?
Paid for by Citizens Protecting Wyoming.
Hello, Americans. This is Rod with My Made in America store, Gillette, Wyoming, where everything we sell is made right here in the USA. New FR clothing is in. Come in, check it out. We have just restocked our supply of Uncker's therapeutic products. We have expanded our Lodge cast iron cookware and our array of cutlery and kitchen products. New Wyoming Christmas tree ornaments. And as always, we're your source for flags and poles, replacement and new. Don't forget your veterans. God bless America. And remember, buy American. It matters. At MyMadeInAmericaStore.com.
I suppose you're planning a nice retirement, and you assume everything is paid for. Well, Wyoming didn't tell you. Who is paying for your pension?
I'm gonna owe lots of money, and it's all your fault. I want to pay for this, but you're making me.
Find out more at Wyoming2100.com.
So let's see what happens if I just go ahead and call the offices of the NSA. That's odd.
Hello, Glenn. This is the NSA.
I was just
going to call us? Right. We heard.
Well, This can't possibly get any creepier.
We thought we would save you the trouble of looking the number up, sir. By the way, you shouldn't wear that color of shirt on camera.
I look fine on camera.
No, sir. I mean our camera.
And it just got creepy.
By the way, we found that email you were looking for this morning.
How did you... Oh, right.
Just trying to be helpful, sir. You know our motto.
Let me guess. NSA, watching you every step of the way.
Cradle to the grave, sir, and beyond.
When you dance, dance like nobody is watching. And when you call Glenn, talk like the NSA and IRS are listening. Because most likely they are.
Guess who?
And they haven't had their daily dose of irreverent, insulting sarcasm today. We're counting on you. Call the show now.
So, thanks to our crack research staff at the front office, I was asking the question I never knew. Who was the voice of Winnie the Pooh? What did he look like? Because as far as I'm concerned, I thought it was one of the most unique voice, even as a kid, watching the Winnie the Pooh cartoons. I mean, the original ones. I'd listen to that voice and think, who is that? What an amazing voice. Well, our crack research staff at the front office found this photograph. This is what the guy looked like who did the voice of Winnie the Pooh. For those watching on video, if you're listening on radio, he looks like kind of a dork. But anyway, no, I mean, he's kind of a dorky looking guy, but still, just not exactly what I pictured him as. Todd, he sent in a message by a video stream. Did they discriminate because Winnie the Pooh is a bear? I mean, what about Tigger and Eeyore? He needs Al Sharpton. And I'm thinking you're absolutely correct. I mean, they're all upset. But there were a bunch of them. Don't forget the owl. There's all sorts of animals there that have no clothes on whatsoever. They're all upset. Well, Winnie the Pooh only has a shirt on. Where's his pants? My question is, why is Winnie the Pooh wearing a shirt? He's a bear. All the other animals are completely naked as far as I can remember. Did the rabbit have a vest on? I don't remember if the rabbit wore a vest or not on that thing. All right. Here's the next one. These are people that have just too much time on their hands. Now, in this case, I'm going to end this one on a happy note because this is a case where the people fought back, and that's exactly what's supposed to happen. The kind of story I'm about to tell you now is what I want to see you people doing out there. So there's the play The Nutcracker that happens every single year in this town. And every single year, and this is of course, it's a Massachusetts town. So there's always somebody out there in Massachusetts that has too much time on their hands and will complain about something like this. Every year they take the kids from the elementary school and they go to see the Nutcracker. One year, I believe it was this year. Yeah, okay, it was this year. Somebody complained. What could possibly be the complaint? Well, there's a Christmas tree in the play. That's their big complaint. So therefore, we can't have anyone. No, we can't have anyone seeing this because there's a Christmas tree in there, and that's offensive. The people rebelled. And this is where, to the people of Massachusetts, I want to see more of this out of you people. I really do. You want big government? This is what big government is. But by the way, it was a Massachusetts town I was telling you about the past couple of weeks that tried to ban smoking. And they couldn't get away with that. So they decided to ban cigarette sales at convenience stores and wherever else sold cigarettes in their town. And they were about to pass it when the people of the town showed up and said, the hell you will. We are free people, and if we want to smoke our lungs out, we're going to do it, and it's none of your business. You're not allowed to tell these business owners they can't sell cigarettes, and you're not allowed to tell us that we can't smoke. Absolutely not. You people wanted big government, did you? I lived in Massachusetts for a short while, and these people in Massachusetts claim that they want freedom, but at the same time, they want big government to take care of so many things. Which do you want? You're not going to have your freedom and have big government at the same time. It's one or the other, because government does what it does by force. They're not asking. You want to help the homeless? Don't ask big government to help the homeless. Because big government starts helping a homeless person by taking money from other people by force. And then by the time it gets through the bureaucracy to the homeless person, there's not much left. And oftentimes programs to help homeless people means that they have to pass laws so you're not allowed to help them. Don't doubt me. I've told you the stories of where people have been banned from feeding the homeless. And then oftentimes homeless people are forced into government programs to get fed. Don't doubt me. I've read you the stories. I'll read them again if you doubt me. That's how government gets things done. On the other hand, if you see a homeless person who needs the meal, you can either handle it yourself or you can go to a local church and civic group or start your own civic group. And the money that you raise from the community is going to be given to you by volunteers who want to give you the money. And all of the money will go to the people who need the help. See, that's why I'm opposed to don't turn to the government for a solution. There's only one way government gets things done, and that's by force. Let's get to the school here. Officials at a Massachusetts elementary school have reported a revised course after considering canceling their trip to the Nutcracker over the complaints of a Christmas tree that appears on stage during the production. Oh, a Christmas tree is so offensive. Butler Elementary School in Belmont, Massachusetts, they've always sent their second grade students to see, and by the way, most of the cast in the Nutcracker are kids. So after a PTA meeting, which traditionally nobody shows up to a PTA meeting, they were going to decide on this, and they were about to decide, well, I guess we're going to have to send kids to some other event because somebody complained about the Christmas tree. Well, the PTA meeting was jam-packed with really upset parents. And they showed up and they told the PTA board, under no circumstances are you canceling this. For those parents who are offended by a Christmas tree, well then don't get, they have to sign a permission slip to go to the event. Do you remember that when you were in school? If there was some special event you had, your teacher gave you a permission slip, you sent it home, it came home with you, your mom or dad would sign, yes, I give permission for you to take my kid out of school to this event. Well, tell it to write no. And they'll keep the kid at school and the kid can do something else while everybody else is seeing the Nutcracker. How about that? I think that's a better way to do it. And that's what these people at the PTA meeting said. It's a yearly thing. It happens every single year. It's sort of a tradition with the school. It's a really great play. I mean, for Pete's sakes, you're taking kids out of the school so they can see a ballet. A really well-done ballet, too. And most of the performers are young like them. Not quite second graders, but still, it's mostly a kid's cast. And it's really well done. And it's not done with, like, cardboard backdrops. I mean, this is a professional production that they put on. But, of course, somebody complained, therefore they have to do it. Now, why is it? It's a very serious question here. One person complains, and the school has to get hyperactive and overreact. 100 people show up and say, well, you can just screw that person's complaint. You can forget it because we're here to say that we like what's going on and we want you to continue doing it. But we can't listen to the 100 people. Because one person was offended. We have to pay attention to the one person who claims that they're a victim. Well, in this case, the parents attending the PTA meeting who were fighting to continue to allow the kids to continue every year to go to this production. Every year the second graders get to go. They won. Anybody who doesn't want their kid to go because they're offended by a Christmas tree, well, their kid doesn't have to go. Now, this is what I mean, folks, by victory goes to those who show up. In this case, parents showed up in mass and won in Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Iris Somberg, Communications Coordinator here at FreedomWorks. There's been a lot of confusion around the net neutrality debate, with the President calling for more strict regulations on Internet providers. Let's see if we can clear a few things up. Supporters of the plan call it a free and open Internet, but in reality, it's anything but. What net neutrality does is force providers to treat all web content equally. The same speeds, the same prices, the same access, but all web content isn't equal. Netflix is not the same as a high school blog, and YouTube certainly isn't the same as Facebook. They serve very different purposes, and they have very different needs. By dictating that all these sites be treated the same, net neutrality makes small companies that don't take up much bandwidth at all pay more, so that big companies can pay less. That's not the kind of equality the Internet needs. Net neutrality is not a level playing field. It's an anti-competitive policy that protects the Internet's biggest companies at the expense of everyone else.
Welcome to Wesley Mouch's Liberal Cafe. We have the only menu with fine print, so please read. You must wait to be seated. You cannot choose your own seat because you do not know where is best for you. Seating is arranged to best obtain the appearance of diversity and tolerance. Before you order, please fill out this form showing that you understand our sexual harassment policies. Notice that all of our staff represents an equal share of gender, race, and sexual preferences. In order to achieve this level of fairness, we have more staff than we need. Please give them something to do. Request. The staff is paid no matter what, and all pay is equal to make it fair. Therefore, they have no incentive to work harder for you, so service sucks, and so does the food. Those who do not show up at the diner are sent bills for what they should have spent, and rather high bills for tips as well. When you tip, remember, quality of service does not matter. Tips are split up evenly between the waitresses to make it fair. Rich people who don't really eat in places like this are charged more and must pay for the meals of those who are less fortunate. They also must cover all tips, including their own and those who have not eaten yet but are assumed to be showing up soon. Since no one really wants to eat here, Wesley Mouch's Liberal Cafe is losing money big time, and so is subsidized by the government. Because most of the money is eaten up by the bureaucracy, very little of it actually gets to the diner. Interestingly, though, more and more money is allocated every year, but less and less seems to make it.
This restaurant is union run. You will be back. We are not asking. Come visit the Liberal Cafe today. Either way, you're paying for it.
Everything Glenn talks about is on his website, and that website is updated daily to keep you informed and scared. BoldRepublic.com. Back to Glenn Woods.
It's a question of majority, it really is. That's why I brought up the sandbox argument earlier. For those that didn't hear that, just joining me, I'll explain what it is. I was also given the advice of I should do a hashtag sandbox argument. So maybe I'll look into that. Might be a good idea. All right. Here's the sandbox argument, what it means. By the way, my name is Glenn Woods. I should mention that for those just joining me. Bold Republic is the radio show. You can find out what I'm talking about by going to my website, which is boldrepublic.com. Also on the front page, all the social media, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus, and my email address, so just go ahead and use it. Okay, so what's the sandbox argument? Well, when you were a little kid in grade school, let's say you were in 2nd grade, and you were in a sandbox with somebody, and you had a fight like little kids do, and their answers to your argument were things like, I know I am, but what are you? Or I know you are, but what am I? You know, those kinds of things. Sandbox argument is, well, Barack Obama just used illegal action when he signed an executive order on immigration. Well, but George Bush did it too. Okay, the answer is neither president should have done it. And so we have to stop that from happening. We have to stop all presidents from doing this. It's not an excuse to allow Obama to do it. Obama has spent more than any other president before him. Well, George Bush spent a lot of money, and George Bush was wrong to do it. What's your point? See, that's the sandbox argument. Okay, sandbox argument comes from people who are really immature and do things like worry about Winnie the Pooh not wearing pants and not having genitalia, and so they actually take up time at a city council meeting discussing and debating it. These are people who are still in the sandbox all these years later. They never matured, and they think that they're supposed to be in charge. They think that they're smarter than you. Here's our mistake. We don't show up often enough to call them out. And they need to be called out, and they need to be embarrassed. So like the story that I just told you about the Christmas tree, every year 2nd graders in Massachusetts town are taken to see the ballet, the Nutcracker. And then this year somebody says, there's a Christmas tree in there, and that's offensive. Thank God everybody else in the town showed up at the town meeting, at the PTA meeting, and said, oh, for the love of Pete, come on. Those people who are offended by a Christmas tree, first off, need to grow the hell up. And then if you don't want your kid going because a Christmas tree offends you, then don't let them go. But everybody else is going. They need to be embarrassed. Grow the hell up. You're still in the sandbox. You're still arguing like a snivelly, whiny little kid. And frankly, the rest of us are sick of hearing it. And when they get all upset and offended by it, let them be upset and offended. Don't you back off. Let them be upset and offended by it. It's about time someone stuck it in their eye. That's enough. I'm not apologizing. You're acting like a snivelly little whiny kid, and I'm not going to put up with it. You know, one of the biggest mistakes I've seen over the years, all my life, this has bothered me. You know the old saying, the squeaky wheel gets oiled. So some idiot who never grew up, who's still living in the sandbox, shows up and complains and complains and complains and complains and complains, and finally they get what they want, just so they will go away. Now, what are they learning here? They're learning that when they show up and act like a pouty little whiny complainy and never stop showing up, just keep bugging you about it, just keep whining, you will eventually give in and give them what they want. Frankly, if I were the school principal who was sending kids every year to go see the Nutcracker, and some parent called or showed up and said, I'm offended, there's a Christmas tree. I'll tell you what offends me, ma'am. Here I am trying to run a school, and a worthless, sniveling little child like you shows up and wastes my time I'm offended because there's a Christmas tree. Ma'am, grow the hell up. Now, I got a school to run. Get out. And that's how you treat people like that. Oh, and she'll get mad, and she'll go to the PTA meeting. Let her. It's about time these people were put in their place. They get what they want because they show up, and they keep showing up, and they never stop complaining, and we give them what they want just to shut them up, and that's been our mistake. Now, this next one, I'll give you in just a moment. Somebody did a cartoon having to do with Barack Obama's illegal immigration executive order. And the cartoon is being challenged as racist. And the artist, who's a really good artist, tried to change the cartoon so it appeared to be less racist, and now he's in trouble for that. My answer is I would have never changed it in the first place, and I would stick it right back in their face. I'll explain just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Dogs, cats, and horses. They all need to get their shots now and then. Aw, come on, it's not that bad. And besides, better you than me. We all know that vaccines can be complicated and expensive. That's why you want to talk to the experts at Thar's Feed and Ranch Supply, Gillette, Wyoming. 100 South Burma Road, 682-9501. Aw, there, you did good.
To my darling wife and kids, I'm writing to you what might be the last thing I ever say. I'm trapped in the bathroom, you see. The toilet is clogged. If I open the door right now, it might be the end for us all. I think it might go all the way down the sewer line. Maybe the clog even goes to the septic. Well, I'm not sure if it needs to be cleared or pumped. Please call Roto-Rooter right now. They're the only qualified service in Northeast Wyoming. Just go find the card for Roto-Rooter under the magnet on the refrigerator. The guy's name is Brian. The phone number is 307-686-1573. If you don't get this note in time, I love you.
Hey, aren't those gun-free zone signs just great? I mean, all you have to do is just take this sign and put it up on your building like so, and voila! Nobody will come in or rob and shoot up the place because you got the sign. Well, if it works for guns, why not other things like bank robber-free zone sign at every bank in America? No terrorism sign. See, all you have to do is stick a no Islamic Jihad sign on every single building in the financial district of New York City, the power grid, our food supply. There you go. That's it. Safe as can be. Here, just have your child wear this no kidnapping this kid t-shirt and voila, your kid is safe. Now, why didn't we think of this years ago?
Stan, why are you wearing a sweater with a bullseye?
Because it's hunting season.
Right, so...
And there are hunters everywhere.
Okay, but why the bullseye?
Well, if everyone's been shopping at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports...
Oh, right, that's bad.
The way I figure it, we don't stand a chance.
Oh, good point. We don't stand a chance.
Might as well give them a clean shot. With everything you need for hunting season, Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, with locations in Casper, Gillette, Riverton, Sheridan, and Cody, Wyoming. Nice knowing you, Frank.
You too, Stan.
Everything Glenn talks about is on his website, and that website is updated daily to keep you informed and scared. BoldRepublic.com. Back to Glenn Woods.
All right, for those who are not watching by the video stream, I'm going to call up a cartoon here, and I'm going to explain to you why this is considered racist by a bunch of kids still in the sandbox. So there's a cartoon, and this has to do with President Obama's executive order on immigration. There's a table set for Thanksgiving. The father is holding the turkey, and there's a bunch of people crawling through the window right behind the dinner table. And the father's saying, thanks to the president's immigration order, we'll be having extra guests this Thanksgiving. Now, somebody called it out as racist because the father... There's a family crawling through the window. The father of the family is wearing a red baseball cap and has a big mustache. He looks like he's Hispanic or something like that. Okay. So the artist, not wanting to offend anyone, I guess, remove the mustache. So now it's the same exact family crawling through the window as the father says, thanks to the president's immigration order, we'll be having a few extra guests this Thanksgiving. And now the father has no mustache, and he looks more like just a redneck guy. Like just somebody from Alabama or Arkansas or someplace like that. And so I guess that was supposed to fix it, so it didn't seem offensive. You know what I would have done, were I the artist? Because this being called out on Twitter, well, he got rid of the mustache. I would have just kept the mustache there. What does the president's, what group of people does this immigration order, executive order, what group of people does it mainly affect? Well, people from south of the border. And what ethnicity are the people from south of the border? Right. So the drawing of the family coming through the window is absolutely accurate. This is an accurate drawing. That's racist. Tell the people who are calling it racist to get stuffed like the turkey that the father is holding. There's nothing racist about it. It is an actual, accurate portrayal of what is happening. Just because the people are of another race doesn't mean it has anything to do with racism. Now, this goes back to what is the left really trying to do here with this whole argument on immigration? This is where, once again, they're using the sandbox argument. Don't let them use the argument. Don't let them get away with it. The moment you say you're opposed to illegal immigration, their answer is, well, it's because you're racist. And you just turn to them and say, listen, you little child, at no time did anyone here mention anything about race. In fact, I want people to immigrate to this country. But here's who needs to immigrate to America. One are people who are not here looking for free stuff. No free stuff. You're here to work. You're here to get a job and build a life and contribute and work. That's one. Welcome to America. Come on in. Two, you're not some gang thug. You're here to actually get to work, not to rob, not to rape, not to whatever. You're actually here because you're a decent, honest citizen. Welcome to America. That's who we want. We want to keep the criminals out, and we want to keep people out who are just looking for free stuff. Oh, by the way, we also try to filter people who might bring a disease that could be devastating to our continent. That's why we have immigration laws. So how do we solve this problem? I say take all these incentives away. Take all the incentives away. Am I talking about race here? At what time did I mention race? What am I mentioning here? I'm mentioning immigration. Well, I'm mentioning economic issues. Did I mention race? I'm mentioning economic issues. And then I'm mentioning health issues. And then I'm mentioning, law, criminal behavior. This has nothing to do with race. So for those who are trying to say, well, you're just being a racist because I don't care what country they come from. I don't care what nationality they are. Todd just posted on the video stream here, why doesn't anyone see that illegals come here to get the resources? Want to challenge us to conform to what they want and want nothing to do with being a real American whatsoever. So let me go to Mexico, tell them to speak English, and cancel Cinco de Mayo. Good point, Todd. Now, here's my answer to this all along. If you really want to fix the immigration problem, Todd, here's what I would do. I would just simply, and it's not racist to do this, I would take away the incentives to get free stuff when you come to America. Anybody currently in America collecting free stuff, we're going to cut it off. By the way, you can't find a job either. Not until you're legal. Then you can find work. Now let's see how many people stay in America.
everybody. Gather round. I'm here to give you anything you like. You want free college, energy, mortgages, whatever you like. You have come to the right place. Why? I'll tell you why. Who can take your money?
Who can take your money?
With a twinkle in their eye.
A twinkle in their eye.
Take it all away and give it to some other guy. The government.
The government.
The government can.
The government can.
Who can tax the sunrise?
Who can tax the sunrise?
Who can tax the trees?
Who can tax the trees?
Let you run a business and collect up all the fees. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
The government takes everything we make to pay for all of their solutions. Healthcare, climate change, pollution. Throw away the Constitution. And who can give a bailout?
Who can give a bailout?
Tell us to behave.
Tell us to behave.
And make the founding fathers roll over in their grave. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
The government takes everything we make. They're power hungry and malicious. Their economics are fictitious. Soon we'll have to eat our dishes.
Delicious.
Oh, who can be a failure?
Who can be a failure?
In so many ways.
In so many ways.
And instead of getting fired, hey, we'll give ourselves a raise. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with how to make it all taste good.
Last 7 minutes of the program. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Bold Republic is on the radio. If you ever miss any of the show, all of the show, doesn't matter. Go to my website, boldrepublic.com. And when you get there, show archives right there. And you can play it right off the website, download it, watch the video. And it's easy to download because it drops to almost any device, phone, tablet, tower, whatever the heck. Just drops it right into your phone. You can listen when you want to listen to the show, so you don't always have to catch it when it's live. So, okay, this, I'm going to have to get into this tomorrow. Today, just not enough time. You know, I used to do a 4-hour-a-day show, but the only time you can get all of this in is doing a 4-hour show. All right. There's to get back to that. Jeez. All right. This I'm going to have to get into tomorrow, but I'm going to tease you guys with it now. Because, again, it's people living in the sandbox. They never grew up. They're still in the sandbox. And here's the hard part about the sandbox for them. They expect us to take them seriously and get really upset when we don't. Headline: Animal rights activists hold a funeral for a dozen frozen chickens in a grocery store. No, I'm not pulling your leg. The animal rights activists actually held a funeral. Now, in this video, and you can go to my website and see the story and watch the video. In the video, a rather, nice-looking, well-dressed young man is standing there in the department, the meat department, and he looks very serious, and he reaches down and picks up a frozen chicken. Oh, God. And then goes over to where the butchers are and so on, and starts screaming, "This is not food." Of course, what's funny is when you listen to the people in the background, because they're saying, "Yeah, it is. It's chicken. It's food." And he tries to convince everybody the horrible torture that the animal went through. And, oh, dear God. Hey, let me ask you something here. I'm very serious about this. This, to me, goes with another story that I was reading earlier today. For some strange reason, it seems, bears got smart. Yes, it goes with the Winnie the Pooh story. This is what's happening with the bears out there. All right. There are bears, and I want to find out if it's happening in Wyoming, who will wait around where hunters tend to get out, like in a parking lot somewhere. Wherever a hunter will park to go hunting, bears have figured out where those spots are. Okay. The bear will wait until the hunter goes off a hunting. And bears are very good at staying about a football field behind and sniffing you guys out. But don't worry, they're not after you because you got the gun. And they've kind of figured out the boom boom stick is bad. So these bears, which I can only assume are dressed in shirt only, no pants, will then, like Winnie the Pooh, will then wait until you, the hunter, have shot something. Then they will rush out there before you get there and drag it off. Not because you're not going to get there in time, but well, the bears don't know the difference, but you know you can't exactly do anything to the bear because it's illegal unless you have a permit to kill a bear. There's not a whole lot you can try to scare it off, but it's just going to grab the carcass and run. Bears are getting smart out there, huh? Smarter than the average bear. Whichever one first thought of that and told his buddies about it. I wonder if it was Yogi. I don't know. Just smarter than the average bear. Okay, so that being the case, knowing now that animals are this smart, what happens if the bear were to find that animal before the hunter did? And let's say the bear came across a pronghorn and took it down on his own, killed it, and ate it. Are the animal rights activists going to hold a funeral, or is that considered normal, natural behavior? And we shouldn't concern ourselves with it because that's just nature. See, they want to consider us outside of nature. Look, I'll give them this much. I mean this. I think we should treat the animals that we raise humanely. I think that there's a reason it's called humanely. I think we should. Absolutely. But to go into a grocery store, and they had a coffin, and they filled the coffin with a bunch of frozen chicken, trying to convince people of all the cruel behavior. All right, and I got a question for them now. And it may sound like I'm not serious about this, but I'm serious about this. I got a question. So now that you filled the coffin with chicken, there's a moral dilemma for these animal rights activists. On the one hand, if they put the chicken back, or even leave the chicken there, it'll be put back. So, well, that means it's going to be sold. They can't do that. If they walk out with the chicken, that's stealing. Well, that would be bad. You can't steal. Then you go to jail for that. If they pay for the chicken, then they personally are just supporting the industry. So they've got themselves in a bit of a quandary here. They can't leave the chicken there. That would be, I'm using their own logic, their own thought process. Leaving the chicken there in the grocery store is immoral because it'll just be sold. Trying to think like an animal rights activist, I'm getting a headache. Stealing it is immoral. You go to jail for that. And buying it means you're just supporting the industry. Oh, dear Lord, what are they? They have themselves in a quandary. We'll figure it out on tomorrow's show. Hang in there. Tomorrow we'll do it all over again. See you then.